Okay, so let's send a challenge.
Here is challenging me. Nice graphics, easy to see. What are you thinking about? You're looking how it can be the most painful?
Exactly. Okay, fine.
That I give up a phone. He wants to be even rude.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
When I saw her for the first time, it was love at first sight. I love how rich and complex she is, how sharp and principled her first steps, how graceful her movement. Paris is a city of love. I've come to find my love for the French defense.
I'm ahead of the game. Well, the phone is always ringing. I'm caught up on the line. Got a string around my finger. Remember who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker, but follow me. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. I'm only ever slinging. I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer, the melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy. Logically, I'm impossibly wanted. And they'll remember my name. They'll remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Well, I'm ahead now. Well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game.
E5, it's E5 Patzers.
A complete repertoire against 1E4 based on 1E5, now available to study with Chessable's unique Move Trainer technology. The backbone is the Marshall Gambit against the Spanish, with 3 Knight F6 against the Italian. Jan Gustafsson has revisited all these lines he has played for 20 years and worked on as a second for Peter Lecco and Magnus Carlsen, amongst others, with the help of the most powerful engines out there, Leela 0 and Stockfish 10. This has led to many new discoveries and a repertoire ready to master on Chessable that can serve the student for a long chess career.
Maybe E4 doesn't exist after all.
E5, it's E5 Patzers.
Hi everyone, welcome to our new video series. My name is Jan Gustafsson and I'm thrilled to be reunited with fellow Magnus Carlsen's trainers, seconds, Peter Heine Nielsen, Magnus Carlsen's head coach, and Laurent Fressinet, Magnus Carlsen's French coach, are both here, and we will be going through the World Championship match 2021. Our experiences with it, the games, what we prepared, where we felt things went well, where we felt things didn't go well, Peter, we have different perspectives because we were in different locations.
Very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about it because you were in Thailand during all the match and I was in Dubai with Magnus and his non-chess team. So I see some kind of debriefing where we will discuss what was the mood in Dubai, what was happening in the technical department in Thailand, and we got to sort of basically compare notes and get the two kind of inside looks from the match.
Very much so. And Laurent, we are actually in your private home. Thanks for having us.
It's a big pleasure to welcome both of you, and I'm sure it will be interesting to talk to you guys about the match.
Likewise.
So we hope you guys enjoy the series with our behind-the-scenes insights. See you then.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game and get paired with players from around the world fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
Hello and welcome to the finals of the Belgrade Grand Prix and the culmination of the previous 2 weeks. I'm Peter Svidler, and with me today and tomorrow and possibly also on Monday, as we've just discussed with Lawrence, because Lawrence knows things, is Lawrence. Hello, Lawrence.
I don't know that many things, but yeah.
Now
Thanks.
your name 3 times, and by law you must appear.
Thanks, Peter. It's nice to be here. I haven't followed the tournament. I mean, I have followed it, but not as much as you guys. But I did see the action yesterday, and Mr. Andreikin has managed to. Well, I don't know what the right word is, but he got a bit lucky to get to the finals, didn't he? I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, he definitely had very sus positions in both games yesterday. But we spoke about this, I think. I mentioned it to Gusti, and it's not like even in Russian chess circles, it's not a universally used thing. But he is nicknamed Maestro, in like if any nickname really exists for sort of, I would even maybe argue any Russian chess player of the current couple of generations, apart from like diminutives of names, it is Andreikin being called Maestro because of just how sort of collected under pressure he is, and how relaxed he makes it look when playing like difficult positions on half a second. And he showed it again yesterday by kind of not getting flustered, by getting out prepared and sort of outplayed in openings. He did not equalize with white, and then also did not equalize with black. Right. But yeah, it was a kind of a strange match because we gave the whole song and dance as we have moves already. Me and Jan, we gave the whole song and dance about how shocking it was that Anish did not continue in game 1 from a very nice position, which looked like it really provided zero risk. And
did he give an explanation why he didn't continue in game?
Well, not to us. I mean, if people asked him during the press conference, sort of, I'm torn between 2 sentiments there. I would like to know the answer, but also I would like to hope they didn't ask him. Because I'm pretty sure he was distraught enough without being interrogated about why exactly he took a repetition in a minus 1.5 position in game 1. And then it looked like he will not get, quote unquote, punished for it at all, because he also got a very, very good position with white. And then it somehow got completely off the rails. But none of that takes away from the fact that Andreikin defended 2 very difficult positions to the best of his ability. And the moment things turned, he did not let go of his new advantage in game 2. Like the moment Anish started going wrong, I think Dmitry did not put a foot wrong from that moment onwards.
Yeah, that's something he's quite good at, isn't it, Dmitry? When he does hang on and he gets given a chance, he seems to punish quite often. Is from what I can see.
He is very good at converting those things into full points, I would say.
Yeah, and today he's got the white pieces against. Well, I mean, I'll talk very quickly about. I actually saw Richard in Poland for the World Rapid and Blitz, and I managed to have dinner with him a couple of times. And I spoke with him, and he was kind of a bit. He was, he was talking to me about how things weren't really going that well for him the past year or something like that. But he's done really well since December, and he's slowly kind of consolidating, creeping up, maturing. What's his live rating now? Is 2772, I think it is live.
I haven't checked. I don't really.
You don't follow the live rating.
Yeah, I mean, now that my name is no longer displayed on that website.
I think he is 2772, and he's top 10 in the world. He's in the finals here. And my understanding, I saw a fantastic tweet by Chess by the Numbers. If you don't follow this guy, go and check it out, because he's got some fantastic models there. But effectively, if Richard wins this final, he is like close to a lock for the candidates. I mean, he's something like 68%.
He will be in a very, very good position. And we will continue to this topic throughout the broadcast, because it obviously, with this tournament being almost done, the situation, can be discussed quite concretely. But yeah, we could probably postpone it until maybe some more moves have been made. Or we could start now, because there are some sort of magic cutoff numbers. In particular, and this is not really the topic I expected to be so relevant, but the drawing of lots for the second half, for the second Berlin Grand Prix, the one that starts almost immediately after this, threw everything in like kind of not disarray exactly, but it produced a very, very kind of a startling outcome, because the situation after this tournament will be, and eventually, not eventually implies that it should have been there already, and it isn't. But at some point we will have the graphic on the screen with the current points. After the first one, Hikaru is on 13, obviously. Levon is on 10, and from this one, Andreikin will be either on 10 or on 13, and Ricci will be either on 17 or on 20.
Yeah,
depending on how the finals go. And on the topic of how the finals go, this is not the most tremendously exciting opening I have ever seen in my life.
Well, it's funny because this is the last classical game I had, which was last weekend, by the way. I did play a couple of classical games of chess. I had this position with black against Mr. Stevic, grandmaster from Croatia. And I lost, and it was very funny because was it an Andreikin game we followed for about 17 moves? It could have been an Andreikin game. So this might actually all be very relevant.
Yeah, and of course, the Four Knights is not exclusively played to make a draw, but it does have a very, very drawish reputation. I don't think it's, without merit to say that this is about as solid and also about as unspectacular a beginning of a game as we could have gotten today. Even compared to all the Petrovs, I think sort of the classical Four Knights, which is what we are seemingly getting today, is very, very heavily leaning towards not just draws, but also kind of dry positions in which not very much is happening. That is not every single game, of course, and there could be much sharper outcomes, but there also, I think there's a difference of approaches here. I don't know what happened in your game, but
my game went d5, takes castles, castles, cd5, and now
this is an important turning point actually, because there is the move bishop.
Oh yes, the move bishop g4, yes,
which I think Jan. It was kind of interesting. Like I have a personal story about this because I saw this. We were doing commentary for one of the WIKE tournaments some years ago with Jan, in the happier times where it could have been done in person from Hamburg, which hasn't happened in a while now.
Yeah, no.
With all the things happening in the world, and people played bishop g4. Like there was a game where Black played bishop g4, and I kind of said, "What the hell is this?" And Jan said, "Well, this is now a very, very topical line, and I also give it in my course." And he taught me some lines basically live on air. And then I used this line to beat Luke McShane in a tournament that year, somewhat later that year. So, and the entirety of my preparation was basically what Jan told me while we were sitting in a Chess24 office in Hamburg. But yeah, this is supposedly very close to a forced draw, even though there have been some developments, and it's not as forcing as all that. And also after d5, which is the current position, e5 is of course the best move, but there's also bishop d2, which used to provide a little bit of a pool, or at least it was supposed to provide a little bit of a pool. But these days they just make a more or less forced draw by just accepting this position and then not losing it.
Right.
In this endgame, it has been recently lost on the black side. I think Karekin beat somebody in the recent tournament here, but if you know what you're doing, you are basically making a forced draw in this endgame. All of this is supposedly borderline forced, and then black has to show some precision, but even the exact kind of precision has already
some bishop a6 here or something, is it?
Yeah, it's already been done, and if you've done a modicum of homework here, you should be holding this quite comfortably. So all of this is, as I said, not very auspicious beginnings here for a full-blooded game, which I think is understandable on Andreikin's part, because he played a very, very nerve-wracking semi, and he does go bishop d2. Yeah, that in particular I think is Of course, after castles, Richie is not forced to go for any of this. Like, there's a move rook b8 here, which is fine. There's other moves which are also not bad at all. But I think these days he's a much more practical player than he used to be. He used to be a kind of a bit of a wild card in terms of like opening choices and just general willingness to take risks when you don't have to. But I think these days he just takes things a lot more calmly, and he doesn't really mind having a rest day today. And as for Draken, yes, kind of waving goodbye to your white game today is not ideal, but in a way, with his approach to openings, and it might sound strange, but I definitely kind of can relate. At least there was definitely a long period in my own career where I felt sort of exactly the same. In some weird way, you have better winning chances with black than you have with white. Because with white, you don't really have very much. Like, this is how I felt for like the last maybe 5 years of my career, and also at various times.
You're saying that as if your career is over. It's got the.
I mean, the Twitch chat has retired me very, very conclusively a while ago, so I'm just kind of rolling with the punches here. But my point being that if your preparation with white, as we're kind of hurtling towards that endgame, which really isn't very fun, we might have a very, very short day today potentially. If your preparation with white isn't really, sort of laser sharp, and you're kind of lagging behind the absolute best in the field, but still playing against the best in the field, then with white, people sort of still respect you enough not to do any foolish stuff against you, and then you just constantly are banging your head against various walls, like the Petrov, or if you play 1d4, it's like the QGG and the Nimzo and the Ragozin and all that. And with black, people kind of try to beat you. And that provides you with positions which you obviously can lose, but which are much more alive than the positions you're getting with white. And in a way, I think specifically, like if you consider what Andreikin has played against Anish in the semi, and also what he played against Anish in the round robin, if his approach currently is to play those slightly dodgy Sicilians, frankly, like they don't look like they've been nailed on, and they don't look like he's even necessarily aiming to equalize. He's just aiming to put pieces on the board and play a position of some sort. He might actually get more winning chances with black than he would with white. So yes, as far as today goes, it's not unreasonable to be a bit disappointed if this ends up being just a demonstration of theoretical knowledge and a draw in like 25 moves or 30 moves or whatever, which does seem not impossible. Is, I think, a very optimistic way of thinking about these things. I think likely, actually.
So, just out of interest, I'm not that familiar with this line. So, knight takes e4 is not possible instead of
knight takes e4. They don't. I'm not entirely sure what the move is in this position, but this is not supposed to be great because white, like the bishop on c3, is just.
It's just amazing. Yeah,
it's just. You get a ton of compensation for the pawn here. There's a number of moves I could think of, but yeah, they do play d4. Let's actually ask the machine why this isn't great. It's not bad, but even some kind of a position like this, and then the queen goes to e3, and you have all these weaknesses. You're kind of never better.
Right.
And if you misplay this position, you might eventually have to defend it a little bit.
Understood.
It's not going to be horrible. Obviously, you're a pawn up, and a lot of material has been traded. But I think kind of a bigger reason here is that d4 has basically been analyzed to be just a draw, whereas that other position, while still probably completely fine, will require you to play a game of chess which you are still not winning. If you had winning chances here, then maybe yes, but I think you have absolutely none whatsoever with black in this position. So it's just much, much better to make an efficient, immediate draw by taking this option.
Beautiful. I've learned something. You see, now the next time I get the 4 knights, I can I can just play this style. I'll have to look at Bishop G4 a bit more, which I didn't know that much. Because I played the old main line, and it was amazing how quickly I got into trouble. There's still life there for
what happened there? So CD5.
Yeah, so CD5. He went H3, which is
okay. Yeah, this is the new way they play.
Yeah, I played Rook B8, which is kind of a move. He went Queen F3. I did play C6 here after much umming and ahhing. Rook B6 apparently is moved, but I believe.
Yeah, I think this is what they do these days, right?
Yeah, exactly. Vishy played something similar. Anyway, I went C6 anyways. He went Bishop F4. I went Bishop D6. He went B3. I played Rook B4.
So we're still following some kind of a rapport game here.
Some rapport or Andraking game it was. He played Knight E2.
Okay.
I wasn't too unhappy as black here. I took on F4, which is fine. He played Knight 6 F4, and I played Queen D6, which I thought was, reasonable. And then he played C4, and this is where I made a big mistake. Apparently, the move A5, because the C pawn is pinned here. You can't play C5 because if I just go A5, A4, apparently there's just really not much for white here in this position.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
I played a huge mistake. I played D4.
Yeah, that generally shouldn't be doing, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think it was because I thought I was getting in C5, Bishop B7 very, very quickly, but as it turns out, I don't. And in fact, here he went Rook E1, and then to my shock horror, this was the Sunday morning game. Of course, I thought I could play C5, but then he plays Knight H5, and all of a sudden,
and something like this might just be kind of losing by
Queen E5 is just completely over, basically. I mean, I'm just totally dead. And basically, the game I struggled on, and he got control of the e-file, and I was just dead. So you could even, these moves can, the old main. Well, it's the let's call it the new old main line because nobody used to play H3, right? Everybody used to play Bishop G5.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when you're not a professional player and you just turn up on a Sunday morning against 26.
That might happen, yeah. And we the reason I've sort of completely ignored the live game is because we've already given all of I mentioned this position might be appearing on the board. And Magnus made a kind of a comfortable draw here with black against Wesley. I think also Grishuk made a comfortable draw against somebody who I currently can't remember. And then there was this Karakin game against how can't I think I
Vidit, was it?
Possibly, yeah, Vidit.
I can say.
Yeah,
was it in FIDE?
It was against Vidit, yeah, and
I might have even looked at it.
Yeah, and
I could be wrong.
In Vidit, I think the likeliest explanation there that he knew and then misremembered the move order, and suddenly it wasn't a draw anymore, and he ended up actually losing it after the first time control. But yeah, it is basically a very well covered position in which what is supposed to be a very comfortable solution exists. Rook d8 played very quickly. We're still following the Saw Carlsen and also the Grishuk game. The Grishuk game was against Dimitrios Mastavasilis.
Okay.
So bishop f3.
So bishop f3 covering the d1 square.
Yeah, so we go king f8,
right?
Rook e8, white goes h4, bishop a6, rook b3. And in this position, I think Magnus went rook e5 and Sasha went... No, let me... Hang on. So... No, Magnus went bishop e2 here.
Yeah,
I think it's fine. And Sasha instead, I think, played rook e1, king h2, rook e5, and then bishop e2 next move. And it's actually very relevant to drive the king to h2 because the f2 pawn needs to... And instead of all that, Vidit played, I think, the immediate rook e5, in as much as I can remember. Yeah, he went rook e5 instead of all of those things. He played rook e5 with the king on g1. And after rook c3, he had to go rook e7, rook a3, rook e6. And once you are put in that position where the bishop cannot really leave very comfortably and the rook is connected to it and white can start making concrete threats, it was never easy again. He may have been able to save the game if he played more precisely, but somewhere around this point, I remember we were doing this game with Jan, and we began by saying, I think it was the last round as well, and we were saying that basically Karakin showed up to make a draw, and the game is going to be over soon. And then Vidit thought for a very, very long time, played rook e5. And somewhere around here, yeah, we started saying that, even if you've come to the board to basically make a theoretical draw, if your opponent misplays it to the extent that you get an absolutely very, very comfortable free roll, nobody in the world will, deny himself a free roll in the last round of an important tournament. And indeed, Sergei ended up winning this game.
Forgive my ignorance for once, as I'm looking at this position, I'm not familiar with it. Everything you're saying, of course, makes perfect sense. But after bishop f3, king f8, rook b8, why aren't they going king e7 there rather than rook e8?
I think they don't like rook
a8.
a8.
Rook a8. And the point is just basically after a6, we can't release h4 and we can't release.
Yeah, like you can't move anything. It becomes kind of awkward because none of your pieces really make any sense.
Right. And after rook e8, the difference is...
well, I mean, rook e1 is like I'm making you waste the tempo on h4 straight.
Right. So I go h4, and then you have the
bishop a6. The rook doesn't get to a8.
Right.
So it all works out very like it's all quite logical move by move. And in this position, yeah, I think we may have had Magnus on air that day for a bit, and he said that bishop e2 is also a very comfortable draw because I think the point was he gave some line which involved playing bishop c4 somewhere in bishop d5, like bishop c6. Yeah, I can't remember. Magnus thought rook e2, sorry, bishop e2 is a cleaner solution than what Sasha did. But both Magnus's game and Sasha's game was very, very comfortably drawn for black anyway. So it's a matter of choice. And there was, Magnus gave us some very, very specific variation here, which he said everything sort of hinged on. I think it maybe was this position, and white cannot play c4 because c6 actually knocks everything away, and you can't maintain this this setup. I think that was it, but I'm not 100% certain. We haven't gotten there yet, and it will be, it will be quite remarkable if yet another game between two extremely strong players from this position doesn't actually end in a draw by move 30 and white gets a pull, because as I mentioned, in my understanding, and also Magnus confirmed it, I think, live on air, this is a solved position.
Right.
There really aren't very many, nuances and or, fine tunes available to either side if black knows exactly what they're doing. Can we get the dog discussion in before the stream ends? Yeah, we will probably at some point.
What's the dog discussion?
I promised towards the end of the show yesterday. We discussed with Jan the fact that he will not be here tomorrow because he has obligations elsewhere, and he asked me who I will be casting with, and I said you, and we'll probably spend the entire stream discussing dog rearing.
Well, I mean, we could do that. I mean, I think a lot of people in chat would prefer that compared to looking at the slightly dry symmetrical ending. But yeah, I'm a big fan of dogs.
Yeah, it might happen. I think it's a bit too early to start, but
yeah, it's probably too early. It's probably too early. But I am a dog fan. I'm a big dog fan.
What do you mean fan? I thought you had a dog.
Well, our family, we have a family. I have my mom has, my brother has a dog, and there's a lot of dogs around at the moment. A lot of doggos.
This is very confusing to me because you sent me a picture and said that this is your dog, and now.
Well, it's my dog at home in London. So it's not here with me.
Is what you're saying?
No, I did not. I consider her. If my brother lives in London, he's still my brother, even though he's not in my house, right? So my dog is still my dog, even though she's not here. She's great. Amber, she's a cockapoo. She's great. She loves dog stuff. She's a good girl. She behaves herself. But yeah, I mean, we might have to go to the dog. I mean, we can't do politics. And we can't really do things that are of culture, because I've got nothing. You're going to talk about classical music with me or literature. I'm dead. So it's really dogs, and that's about it. That's all I've got that's all I've got in the tank. It's fantastic.
That is yeah.
What's chat saying? Is chat saying anything?
Chat is saying fake dog owner and dog get exposed.
I might get my own dog one day. It is a big responsibility though, and it does. If you haven't got somebody to look after it, it gets a little bit tricky if you want to travel. Because eventually I want to start traveling again. I mean, obviously the situation as things are at the moment, makes traveling a little difficult. But one day I might want to travel, and having the doggo makes things just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it's a bit curious that this is where suddenly there's a reasonably long.
Do you think he knows what he's doing? Do you think he's kind of stumbled his way to this position, Richard, or do you think he's just?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I think he probably just wants to make sure he doesn't mix anything up, because I have a feeling, all of these things slightly blend in my mind. But wasn't he also playing in Vike? So you may have.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he actually watched Vidit lose that game, and he thought
exactly.
He's now sitting here thinking to himself, "I know this is a draw, but I also know it's possible to lose this. So let's make sure that we don't, cock it up."
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking. That he actually was watching this game, and he just wants to make sure, as you said.
Yeah. And you have to say that for an endgame which features two pieces left and a completely symmetrical pawn structure, it's trickier than it looks.
Yeah,
you definitely do need to know what you're doing in order to make a comfortable draw, or you may suffer. And
what moves are? Let's talk about moves that are really bad here. So King F8 is really just a kind of it's.
Well, I mean,
you have to play King F8
because you don't want to be allowing Rook B7. Like if you move the bishop here, you allow Rook B7, and he's gone Bishop F5 here, which might be a novel way of making said draw again. Like I'm guessing his plan is to go like Rook B7, Bishop takes C2, Rook takes C7, Bishop B4, and it's also basically just a straight up draw. Isn't it?
So Rook B7. So let's have a look. So Rook B7.
Give me some time to scroll. Yeah. So not King F8. Bishop F5.
So first and foremost, is Bishop takes C2 forced there?
First of all, maybe H4 makes some sense with the intention of playing Rook. No, but then Rook D2 exists. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, so we go Rook B7.
Yes.
I mean, you can start with Bishop E4, but I would like to play 4 against 3, not
Bishop E4.
Yeah,
that's the move, isn't it?
I want to take and I want to go back to E4. And my question is Bishop E2 anything? Because this endgame is kind of known to be a draw. This is basically what Sasha's game devolved into, and it is very, very safe. With the white king side broken up as it is, this is a very, very safe. As far as 4 against 3s go,
right?
This is about as safe a draw as you can get,
right?
My understanding,
right.
Just forcing it cannot possibly be a mistake. So the question is, can we maybe try to keep the position slightly more alive by playing Bishop B2? But I mean, even if I do something like G6, Rook A7, Rook D2, or something like this, it just doesn't feel like I should be losing this with black. It just feels like it's a draw.
Because King F1, Bishop takes G2.
Yeah, this might lose for all we know. Maybe it also doesn't win. Like we know it doesn't win for white. Yeah, King F1, as you correctly point out, is an immediate draw after Bishop takes G2. And like, what else are you even supposed to do here? You don't have moves.
Don't even have a move, do you? Really?
Press. So yeah, maybe this is just a kind of a more streamlined way of doing the same thing. You will have to play a rook ending a pawn down, I assume, but it's not a rook endgame you're very, very afraid of. And there might even be cleaner, but no. Like I think something to be avoided here is playing something like C5 and allowing this, because this you might lose. This I think would be. I think you probably don't want to be.
Can't I take go Bishop A4 and bring, or maybe I'm a bit.
It might also be, but like. Why even check? I think this one has much bigger losing property than this. No, not this position. Which one? Than this. Like you compare this to this, I am kind of always taking the rook endgame. I think I'm pretty much every single time taking the rook endgame instead of the endgame, because like this requires no thought anymore. You just go King G7, King F6, H5, and you chill. Like going King F6, King E6 forever. And with the white king side broken up, like there's never going to be any kind of a king run towards the queen side. It's just not realistic to expect that to work. So Yeah, what could we possibly be missing here is my new question.
Maybe we're not missing anything.
I mean, if white doesn't go rook b7 here, I don't think there is a move. Maybe like king f1 is a move. No, but then bishop d3 check, right? Because I sort of prepared for rook d2 by having king e1 here. But bishop d3 check and then like rook d7, black is a pawn up. And,
yes.
I mean, maybe you don't lose, but it doesn't really look to me like it's a winning attempt necessarily.
Absolutely not.
So what about a more passive rook b2? Yeah, you can make a move like rook b2, but that just gives black a tempo to play king f8. And
yeah,
like, why are you supposed to be better here if you're not the first one attacking the pawns and there is no back rank issues to create trouble for black? I can't see how this is better for white ever. So yeah, and this also explains why king f8 wasn't blitzed out by Richie, because he apparently has a kind of a fine tune here. I really don't think he's ad-libbing this. He just kind of rechecked in his mind that this is what the file is supposed to say, and then he's doing this. And rook b7, bishop c2, rook a7 is, I think, very, very similar, because once again we have bishop b4 and bishop b2 here. We can even start with rook d2 actually, because a8 now is covered. So rook takes c7, and now we go, I don't know, king f8 or g6, and it's the same position again. Only better because even a2 is hanging, so like a completely equal position where we have zero risks.
This has all got the hallmark. These kind of lines. You know, I think of, well, there are lots of lines in chess and lots of different, but I think of the Queen's Gambit accepted lines that you played at the candidates in 2013. You know, where you took on. You played an early a6 and then the
that
you know what I mean?
It wasn't actually as dry, because there, you know, very, very level, but there's still plenty of pieces left. And also, like for those who, because the current endgame is not very interesting, I can actually show what Lawrence is talking about. Yeah, this was what we prepared for that candidates. Just the idea of playing a6 here, and is that the move order?
I can't remember.
Sort of, yeah, sort of, and. Yeah, these types of positions,
right?
Like b3, e6. Whoops, not e5, of course, e6, and
yeah, takes.
And but the thing about this line, Lawrence, is that if white knows what they're doing, it's actually quite risky.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, like I made two absolutely effortless draws in this career. One in the London candidates, and then also somewhat later, I think I made a very, very easy draw against Ivan Cheparinov in some tournament. Possibly also a team tournament. I can't remember exactly where. But the amount of time me and the boys spent in training camps fine-tuning this and making sure it doesn't lose by force in some very, very sharp positions is not insignificant. Actually, not this. Yeah, because like here you go b3 here, and black goes b6, and it's actually this position.
Right, that's right. And it's
and then white goes like knight d2, rook b1, and there are some absolutely mad positions here which you hold by the skin of your teeth.
Right.
But nobody really cares enough on the white side of it to actually check properly. So in general practice, if you do it like once every 3 years and nobody prepares for you, you just make a draw in 17 moves and go home. But yeah, like if you continue doing this, eventually somebody will spend like a day clicking. And you might still make that draw, but it will be far less enjoyable. So yeah, a note of caution for those out there who want to use this to make very, very easy draws on the black side of the QGA.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so rook b7 played in the meantime as expected. Yeah, and I think bishop c2, bishop b4 is just going to happen against... casting with Jan taught me not to use the words against anything, but... against most things.
Now, the Berlin Grand Prix, when does that actually start?
The semifinals and finals are from the 30th, which gives us a very useful kind of a bit of a timeline. It starts on the 22nd, yeah. 22nd. I don't know if that actually is round one, Satiris confirms, yeah. So it's very, very soon. Pretty much a week after this.
A week after this. Now, when are you going to get back to? I mean, you might have discussed it with Jan. I haven't been watching the streams. I've been busy with other stuff. But when's your next tournament?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Is it Okay, without stepping on toes and stuff like that.
The thing is, even without the things happening right now, which throw it into even more of a disarray, I honestly did not know even before that. Like the suspicion was it might be the Russian clubs, but does this happen? Nobody knows. And honestly, like it's so far away from being the biggest issue right now that
I'm thinking about having a birthday blitz event at my house. Now, I don't know whether it will be FIDE rated or not, but I can promise you there'll be some decent grub to munch. I'm thinking about inviting some VIPs. You, Magnus, some random guys. So I'll let you know. I'll shoot you a message in case you've just got the hunger to play again.
Yeah.
Bishop takes a2 played.
Yeah, I still like this. This really is the only way to continue here, and I'm wondering if let's say after the move g6 that I made, maybe we can play
f3 rook d2.
Yeah, like no, we're not taking on a7 at all. We're playing a move, and then we're playing bishop c4. Like I want to get the bishop to c4 and put some pressure on the f7. Like maybe we go f3. Yeah.
Rook d2.
Rook d2, bishop c4. Here.
Bishop c4 here.
Yeah,
that's a bit of a problem actually.
Because bishop d5, rook d7 doesn't actually work. You don't actually.
Yeah, bishop f3. That's rook f7.
It looks like it probably ends up being bad, right? Rook f7, bishop d5, and then we go back to d7.
Yeah.
Kind of a really stupid line, which is
actually just totally losing.
Yeah, we need to find a cleaner solution after bishop e2 here. It's possible that king f8 is, but king f8 also runs into bishop c4 issues. So. What's the way to play this? Yeah, we could actually make white work for the a pawn here, right? Chat is suggesting a5. It really doesn't.
Okay, and if rook a7?
I think it's an improvement to make.
Can we go rook a8's a bit ugly, right?
Yeah. First of all, this now allows us to play rook d2 because we control.
Of course, because we cover a8. Yeah.
Yeah. So a5 does look like an if f3. We can go bishop d5, provoke like a3 or a4. Even though I would be a bit worried here with black, because like if you allow some kind of a rook c5 setup here and you have to play rook a8, you become very passive. So yeah, I'm curious as to exactly how we diffuse bishop e2, because it does feel like there should be an answer here that is satisfactory, but. Maybe we just go g6, f3, bishop d3. I think that's probably it, honestly.
And then if takes, rook
it's a bit less clean. Yeah, it's a bit less clean than the other position because the king side hasn't been broken up. But with the pawn on f3, like we put the rook on a2, we don't lose very many of these either. The question is, I think the biggest problem is with the move like king f2, and then like a5, rook c5. You have a kind of a weird choice of continuing to keep the pawn, and then these positions have been lost in history.
Yeah, sure.
Or you can immediately abandon it for a rook activity, which I guess is what I would prefer. Yeah, something like this. Just put the rook on b2.
But this is slightly different, right? With the king already.
It's a bit worse, but then again, like we give a check from b2 early enough that I think we still force the king back to some poor squares, like f2, g3 might have to be forced here. And like
let me ask you a question. If white had already got in something like g4, h4 in this exact position. Let's say
it should still be a draw, but it's
still be a draw. Okay.
Yeah, because I think we have enough pressure against the f3 pawn. Like I go rook b2, but yeah, this is more worrying because white can time things much better.
Right.
With the king run, but yeah, I don't think you're getting there, and while Andrei King is thinking after bishop takes c2, perhaps we could discuss the situation in the Grand Prix in general, because it is very relevant. So the current standings, as you see them on your screen right now, the two scores with the asterisk are basically like it's the scores that both of them would have if they could both lose the final match. One of them will have three more points by the end of this. Obviously, it will be either Breaking on 13 or Richard on 20. I'm pretty sure 20 is a lock. considering the groups for Berlin, specifically because of how groups for Berlin are looking like. 20 is even theoretically maybe kind of unbeatable. 17 is a very, very interesting number, though, because 17 is basically like a final and a semifinal, or 17 is winning a group and then coming second in the pool. Those are two ways of getting 17 points. It's either 13 plus 4 or it's 10 plus 7. And that means that there is a bunch of people who are theoretically on 17 points by the time all of this ends. Hikaru could come second in a group. Levon could get to the semis and then lose in the semis. That would be 17. And there's also some other, like Anish could get to the final, lose the final. There's a number of people who could actually still get to 17. So if Richie wins the final, Richie is very, very safe. If he doesn't win the final, Berlin might become a bit of a math fest. And also very, very relevantly, I've kind of been alluding to it, but some of our viewers may not be aware of it. The reason I'm making all of these assumptions is the drawing of lots for the pools in Berlin produced Pool A, which is, do you know?
No.
Okay, because Pool A is kind of interesting for Berlin. Pool
Okay,
A
what's
is,
Pool A?
Hikaru,
Yeah.
Levon,
Right.
and Andreikin.
Wow. So that really puts the cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, and considering only one of them can get to the semis,
right?
This is why Rapport is so reasonably safe even on 17 points, and is definitely safe on 20.
Yeah,
because basically his three direct competitors are all in the same pool in the next one. He will be done after this. Obviously, he played in the first one, lost in the series, and he's playing in the finals here, and he's done. Once this is over, he can't get any more points. But because of that Pool A situation, even 17 points is very good, and 20 should be completely safe, because I don't quite see how he gets beaten by two people on 20. It might just mathematically be impossible.
And so let's say Andreikin does win, and so there's 17 now. Of the outside those top four guys, who else has got a shot? Then are you saying that? So does Vidit, does Anish?
Well, I think Vidit is done. I think Vidit's 7
Vidit is done.
Are from two events.
They're from two, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically Anish and MVL, yeah.
Right.
Anish and MVL who are not in the same group. Anish is in the group with Wesley, so Anish will have to win a group with Wesley in it, and MVL and Linier as well, yeah.
Linier, exactly.
Also only played one. So I can dig up the pools again, or I could just kind of give a wink to Satiris and he will copy paste it into.
I'm sure Satiris can.
Yeah, so I remember that Anish is in the group with Wesley, and then I think Sam Shankland and Alexander Pretke, and MVL is in yet another group where I think he might be a racing favorite, but none of those things is a lock. And yeah, for them on 7 points, if you win the tournament outright. So yeah, there they are. Pool B, Shahriar, Linier, Dubov, and Keimer. So Linier needs to win the group ahead of Shahriar, and then go on to win the event possibly. Pool C is the Wesley MVL group with Shankland and Pretke, and Pool D is a kind of a complete repeat of Pool B in this tournament, with Yuyangi replacing Hare Krishna. It's Giri, Vitugov, Yuyangi, and Amin Tabatabai. So on paper, Anish starts as a favorite to get out of the group. Obviously, all four players, I mean, the three remaining players are all very strong players. Nothing is ever a guarantee. But in terms of relevant people being favorites for their groups, I think Anish is the only one who, looks like an actual serious favorite, in as much as such a thing can be claimed before the tournament starts. But he probably needs to win the entire thing. He needs to qualify out of groups and then win the two matches, because 17, you get the feeling that there might be a traffic jam on 17.
Right. Now let let me ask another question. So I don't know I have fallen behind in in chess developments. Let's put it like that. I haven't been keeping tabs. What is going on then? Are there any Russians that have qualified already for the candidates whose participation?
That's a loaded question.
No, I legit don't know.
Yeah, there's a graphic for you on the screen.
Apart from Jan. Jan was obvious.
Jan and also Sergey, because he
Sergey was actually in, was he? Okay,
yeah.
so
which is a whole other topic that we've been kind of skirting around for the
right. So I guess we can continue to skirt, because were they not to play, how that opens up spots, and goodness knows how it would all work. Nobody knows, right?
Yeah, this whole situation is kind of unknowable and.
Well, I mean, it has to be sorted out before June.
Yeah. The assumption is that eventually some decision will be taken, and the dreaded words ethic and disciplinary committee have already been mentioned once or twice. So
I have absolutely no idea who is on that committee.
Neither do I, but the committee does exist. Anyway, so that's the situation. And another thing that I did want to read out was because we assume it's quite likely there might be a tie on 17 points. There is no tiebreak for the General Grand Prix. There are actually, they don't play a playoff because obviously, logistically, that's kind of impossible to organize.
So if 3 players get 17 points?
Or 2 or 3, it doesn't really matter. Because it's very possible that the people tying on 17 include some people who are not playing in the third leg, and they can't just be expected to show up at a moment's notice to play an actual the board tiebreak. So there are set in stone mathematical tiebreaks to differentiate between them and decide who progresses, and they are in this order: the number of first places.
Okay, makes sense.
Winning legs, so that would be Hikaru ahead of things, and whoever wins this final being a very, very good spot. Number of second places, once again, we kind of know who those people are. Number of actual standard game points scored in the 2 tournaments played. So outside of Rapid and Blitz playoffs, just the number of points you scored in the classical. This is worded in such a way that I wonder if that also includes semis and finals. Because it doesn't really. I thought it was only the pools, but it sounds like it also counts the semis and finals. Then number of actual wins in standard games and tournaments played. And after all that, we actually do go back to the famous Smyslov versus Hübner. It was, or who was Smyslov playing? I think it was Hübner, right? And they just went to the casino and flipped for it.
Oh, I don't actually know that story. Is that true?
Absolutely, yeah. Possibly Ribley, maybe. Was it Ribley?
I don't actually know that story. What, they went to the casino and they flipped a coin for it?
No, I think they did the red-black and I don't know what happened.
On the roulette wheel, that's funny.
Yeah, they did the roulette, yeah. Yeah, it was Hübner, yeah.
Okay, what year was that?
That was, and apparently also in the Susan Polgar versus Ioseliani in 1993. So I actually wasn't aware of that second one, which is on me. But yeah, the Smyslov Hübner is quite famous because they in those years they did not really play very many, Armageddon Blitz tie breaks. So
sure, yeah.
And first round was actually
must have been early 80s, right?
Yeah,
I would have thought. Yeah.
And yeah, Satiris says Smyslov was there. Hübner had already gone home, and the first flip actually landed on 0, and then.
That's funny. That's a good story.
So we can, but that seems unlikely because with the 3 or actually the 4 tie breaks ahead of that, all seem to be well designed to produce.
Yeah.
I think in a match with 2 people, the roulette wheel is likelier than when you take three tournaments which feature first a round robin and then a knockout, and you to have 2 people have the exact same score on all of those tie breaks is, I think, not very likely at all.
No, not likely at all. First and foremost, of course, a lot I mean, if Richard wins this final, it makes the calculations for things a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it becomes a kind of a straight race for the second spot. Even though if Hikaru, let's say, if Hikaru gets to the final of the second one, he actually overtakes Richard. But still, like, Richard is the one who will be kind of locked in, and there will be a race to, occupy the second spot, even if in the final count you will be ahead of Richard.
now, this will be Richard's first ever candidate if he gets through. Is that right?
If he gets in, this will be the first one he ever plays.
Yeah.
And I think he will be a very, very welcome addition.
Absolutely.
To that tournament, because he's been playing really well, and he's also such a nice and interesting guy that it's a win-win on every single count.
Completely agree.
Interesting that Andrekin is still thinking here, because to my eyes, returning to a game for a bit, to my eyes, like, maybe he's actually considering some kind of a quiet move like h4, because if you are strictly choosing between those two captures, I don't think you can choose rook takes a7, because after bishop 4, you kind of know that the rook ending is drawn, and you can't really play bishop b2 here, because, as we've mentioned more than once, the fact that a8 is controlled just makes making the draw here for black so much easier, that it just doesn't seem like a legitimate choice at all. So I think the fact that he is pausing here for quite a bit is a reasonable indication that he is seriously considering h4, or perhaps h3, because maybe you don't want to give targets to the rook on d4. So something like h3, just to stop bishop b4 from happening altogether. Basically, the idea here is that those aren't really running away, but we really dislike allowing bishop b4. And we want to make sure as white that it does not happen, and then we will start recapturing the pawns on the 7th.
Cool. So after h3, I wonder what the most precise way for black is to just...
Yeah, I don't know. It's it kind of feels like, making a luft for the king can not really be a mistake, but you might have something more forcing available to you here. I don't know.
How bad is it to play c5, rook takes a7, and bishop b3, just to start potentially running the c guy?
Because actually I think I'm losing this bishop ending.
Yeah, your king's cut, right?
Yeah, I just don't get to d2 in time. This is very smart. Yeah, because I think the problem here would have been rook a8, although maybe bishop d5 is annoying. Even though, like, honestly, I'm not sure how annoying it is, because this one gets to c2. But But, I mean, it probably is just a draw, but it's a kind of a meh draw for black to make, right? Like, I can play maybe bishop b6, and if you play c3, white is in time to do this.
B3, yeah. But I probably got some...
No, you can play, you can definitely play stronger here, like rook d6 is probably a good
Rook d6, yeah.
Rook d6 is probably a good move, just to stop, like, the bishop on e6 needs to be challenged before we start pushing further. This really does look like a draw, and the reason why I play bishop b6 and not rook c7 is that this just is a draw, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, this just is a draw, because, eventually, like, you can try pretending, but I will just play rook a5, bishop b6, rook a6. I will more or less force you to take on c4. And then, yes, you can pretend for another 50 moves, but it's not a very convincing position to pretend from.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I think it's a good call, actually. Yeah, I miss bishop d3. It's a smart.
It's just we're trying to find some work for the bishop, right? And
its feather says, can you cling on to your pawn by playing h3, a6, rook c7, bishop d3? You can, but I would prefer not to. But, like, some kind of a position like this is actually sort of the absolute best case scenario here for white, with the two active pieces against the two passive pieces, which, like, once again, probably is okay. Probably machine just kind of laughs and says, I will never lose this because I will defend this very precisely. But, like, some position like this, and now, I don't know, rook a7, king f8, bishop b3, rook d6, and I don't know, f2, f4. And we just start coming out of the corner eventually, and black is very passive and has to continuously juggle, like, not blundering the king side and not allowing too much activity and so on. Yes, you probably don't lose, but I think you'd much rather make a forest draw instead. And yeah, after some prolonged thought, he does take on c7 now.
Okay.
This, I think
So this is the one with bishop e4.
Yeah,
right?
the big question is, what we're doing here with black. Like, there's a number of options here that we've been discussing. One being a5 and playing kind of to try maybe preserve the pawn, and one is just g6, f3, and I assume bishop d3. There also may be some argument for playing, I don't know, g5, so that in this position we have bishop g6, but I don't quite see how we follow it up. This doesn't look clean at all. So yeah, there's still questions to be answered here, but should be a solvable position.
This might be a good chance for us to talk about some offers going on, which is obviously very nice for all of you guys who are perhaps thinking about becoming a premium member. Well, now is a good chance because you can get 40% off by using the code Grand Prix 2022. That's a huge discount, obviously. Go to chess24.com/premium for more details on what you get by being a premium member. And perhaps more interestingly to a lot of you guys who are regulars here and who are perhaps already premium members, there is now a very special series on Chess24 called Inside Team Magnus. Go to chess24.com/collection and you'll be able to see a series on the thoughts of Team Magnus. In other words, Jan Gustafsson, Peter Heine Nielsen, Levon Fressinet, talking about the match, what went wrong, but of course, more likely what went right, because not very much went wrong for Magnus in that match.
Well, it's an interesting one because I don't think we've discussed it sort of properly on air, and it's a kind of a weird one, right? Because like the final score line is +4 in Magnus's favor. Like the match did end in an absolute blowout in terms of like score line, and also in terms of what happened in the second half. But the first like 5 3/4 games were incredibly tense. And you can make an argument, I think, of legitimate, like non-lying argument that Jan was probably slightly ahead in terms of like good positions achieved, initiative in games, like opening, like soundness of opening preparation, and so on and so forth. And then he, instead of potentially winning game 6, he lost game 6, and the wheels completely came off.
Right.
Which was definitely something that a lot of people discussed before the match, that if he starts well, if he is the one to win the first game, it could be a very, very tight one. But if he loses the first game of the match, the first decisive game of the match, there is a propensity for the wheels to come off.
Let me just interject there because, while we have the position on the board that we've been discussing, and this is a critical moment which Richard might take a little while on. I don't know your personal relationship with Jan Nepomniachtchi, but do you think he worked on the psychological aspect of effectively not tilting or trying to control tilt, which he himself recognizes as one of his weak points? Because the wheels did come off, and it seems to me like that's still an area which is going to inhibit him from becoming, an absolute. He's a great, of course, but what's the word? Becoming an absolute GOAT of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly worked on more than just chess for the match. I don't have any particular insight
because his weight was well documented, right? He was really in decent shape physically. I think he mentioned himself that he lost a lot of weight, but I was talking more about sports coaching, basically mindset coaching.
I don't know exactly. I know it's something that he clearly is aware it's an idea that could be explored. I don't know if he's done much of that before the match. I wouldn't be surprised at all, but I have no particular.
Okay.
like, to answer your original question, we're on very good terms, but we are not. Like, he doesn't inform me about all the things that are happening in his life, and rightly so. Why would he? So yeah, I can't really say, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. But still, like the pressure of the World Championship match is such that I don't know if it's entirely possible to, you know, conquer your sort of natural reactions to things to the extent that it needs to be conquered in I don't know, the half a year that he had before qualifying. And
you think it's a multi-year process, do you, or a life process?
I think no. I mean, you become better. I'm pretty sure you can become better faster than the time frame that he had, but I don't think you entirely become a different person and suddenly turn into somebody who is legitimately untiltable. Because I don't know if, you know, even any kind of a gradual improvement is obviously very valuable, but the World Championship match is such a pressure cooker that, yeah, I don't know how much that gradual improvement actually gets you. So how did we get there? We got there somehow.
We got there. We were just
we got there because there's a video series which people really should watch, because it's those guys have things to say, like the guys who sat down and talked about everything to do with the match. They definitely have things to say which you probably, like, without ever being in that spot, without ever being part of a successful team of seconds preparing somebody for the World Championship match, you probably don't really get that insight. So yeah, it's a very interesting series to watch. But yeah, I brought all of this up because I thought it's kind of unfair, and it was prompted by you saying not very much went wrong for Magnus in that match. And that is sort of the narrative that exists now, right? That was a completely one-sided affair, which featured no pressure on Magnus whatsoever.
Right.
And I think that is also kind of a fantasy.
Okay.
Because there was definitely a lot of pressure on him in the first half.
Right.
It's just that
I agree with that.
It's just that, as we discussed, you know, there was always kind of a fear from, you know, like for us as pure spectators, which I still count myself as one, where like the World Championship matches are concerned. Even though I did commentary for the entire thing, I'm still, you know, at heart, I'm just tremendously excited to be watching those things, and I want them to be close. I want them to be full of intrigue. And from that viewpoint, there was always the fear that if Magnus at some point pulls ahead, things could go sort of exactly as they went. And we were not proven wrong on that count.
Right.
Bishop E2 played, returning to
Bishop E2 has been played, and we're waiting.
There was a comment in chat that, you know, it's very annoying that we actually showed this entire position 5 minutes into the stream. I mean, this is still a game. I thought there might not be a game today, and the lines that people used to choose against this, the lines with King of Fate, they do seem to me like they might just be a forced draw. And currently, I still think this will extremely likely end in a draw. But if your best course of action here is actually something like this, it's not unlosable. You probably still make the draw. And actually, I think there is absolutely no reason not to do it straight away. Like, why are we pushing the pawn all the way to whatever it is? Just give it up on a7. Yeah, he's gone g5, which is, I guess, maybe better for the same reasons. I'm still expecting him to play bishop d3 next move, honestly. But I think in playing g5, he is saying, in this rook ending, it is actually useful for me to control that plan that you were describing. Because the pawn on g5 is never really going to become weak. We can always very happily play h6 if it gets attacked. We don't really care. And just making sure that we've gained some space on the king side here in terms of, you know, making it difficult for white to come out of the corner. So like some position like this, and we just go king g7, h5, h4 here, and we never allow the white king side to progress to any kind of safer squares. And we make a lot of, like, as much of a space gain on the king side as possible. And these positions kind of remain very, very safely drawn, as they've always been. Yeah, I kind of like this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why king f2 rather than bishop takes d3? It's basically the same. Yeah, you can also do it this way, but it's pretty much the same position. Gilithin. It's basically the same position. We can also just go rook d2 here and keep it on g1. We don't even need to give 2 checks, and then h5, h4 will start happening. The tempi difference between this position and this position is really kind of insignificant. I guess bishop takes d3 is actually, you are correct, this may be like a tempo up for white, a very, very small tempo, but I don't think the evaluation changes. Unless I'm wrong about all of this and he doesn't play bishop d3. But I really do think...
What else can he do? Can he play... Can I be really silly? No, I can't. I was going to suggest something very silly, but then I realized I can't.
Corporate wants you to find the difference between the two lines. Yeah, that's the right approach, HTH. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, there's just... They are the same line. What is the key to hold an outside pass pawn games like this in the endgame? This I think I can sort of answer. Like if we get to... Where are our positions there? Bishop d3. Where to go? Like some position like this. So the point is we're waiting for the white pawn to move off the second rank. We put the rook behind. And then it basically progresses to the farthest it can safely progress without giving up all the winning chances is a6. We play, let's say, h5 here. And we just hold our shape here, passing, I guess, with king g6, king g7 for the most part. We can play h5, h4 if we want. And the point here is, optically, white has two ways of trying to win this position. One is like completely empty, and that is to play a6, a7. Let's say we go king h7, a7, king g7. And this is a very, very well-known position, which most of you should recognize instantly, where, yes, with a pawn on a7, you can very easily get the king over to b1, because black can obviously never leave the a file to take on g2. But the issue there is, yeah, we just continue passing and passing and passing and passing, and eventually the king gets to b6 and it gets checked from behind, and it gets continuously checked from behind. Like you, at some point you, sorry, yeah.
But you have to be a little bit careful with the shape of the pawns, no? Because
yeah, but I think this is fine. I think
you go rook a1.
Yeah, because we always have a check from a5 there. Like you can play king e5. I can even like lose a tempo here and allow this, and this is still a draw because it gets kicked away.
Right.
With the king on h7, like if I somewhere around here, if I make a blunder and I allow king e5 in some kind of this shape, and then I give a check and I allow king f6. Yes, here this I probably will lose, but obviously nobody is ever going to force me to play king h7 on my own. I have enough passing moves on the a file to never have to face this decision. And so that's one way. And the other way is keeping it on a6,
right? Eventually
giving up one of the pawns on the king side. Let's say we go, I don't know, h3, king g7, g4, just to simplify. We get to this position, and I continue passing. And somewhere here you play king g2, rook f3, and normally you play rook c8, c6. And some of these positions are actually tricky to make a draw in, but they normally feature the white king already somewhere on the b5 square, not d2. Because with the rook on c6, I can actually and will threaten the pawn on g4 here, for instance. This is one way to make a draw. Another way to make a draw here, I suspect, is just to play f5, gf, g4. And we get to some kind of a position like this, where black just passes forever. And this setup cannot be shifted either, because yes, you can go like rook g6, rook g3, but then you lose the a6 pawn. So I'm just going to be playing king g7, king f7 for the rest of the game. And then eventually white will either offer me a draw or give me one of their pawns. Yeah, these endgames they're sometimes tricky, but the trickiest pawn, like in terms of the outside passer on the queen side, I think the b pawn is supposed to be harder to draw against the a pawn, because the white king has better squares to hide from checks after the eventual race starts. But even that is drawn much more often than it is lost.
There you go, guys. A free Endgame lesson. Throw out your Dvoretsky books and just watch this video. No, don't do that. Keep those books. Read them.
Yosha Iglesias with a very relevant point there. If we go to whichever endgame we were discussing, like here, it actually is better to go rook a7 if we want to give up the pawn. Like a setup like this is stronger because the pawn is already on a7. But you probably don't win this position either, because once again f5 is
exactly
rook c6, king f7. You have to protect the pawn on a7. So yeah, I get enough counterplay on the king side, even in these types of situations, because black basically generates a passer on the king side very, very quickly, while we still need to get the king over to b7 to win, even in some kind of position like this. So yeah, these rook endgames, like if I had this with black, I'd be very, very scared, because I always feel like my fundamentals in terms of kind of basic rook endgames are not as sound as they should be. But still, they are drawable, and people do draw them.
Indeed. Still on.
Still thinking after g5, yeah. Still thinking after g5, yeah. And there was a very good throwback remark a bit earlier by Dodgy about the 15-minute stream, but sadly for us, it doesn't seem like it's. I mean, sadly for us, I'm kind of saying the quiet part out loud here, but yeah, probably not going to be a 15-minute stream today. Which apparently, like we were discussing this on air a few days ago, like to understand to explain the joke to you, Lawrence, that like the ideal length of stream, we discussed like the proper streaming techniques and whether you're supposed to have like a countdown with a logo which says stream about to start and then a countdown and all these things. And eventually the collective, hive mind, including Dodgy and chat and us too with Gusti, we all came to the conclusion that the ideal stream length is 15 minutes. It doesn't really matter what's happening during the stream. If as Dodgy does, you stream rapids, not blitz games, your game probably doesn't end in 15 minutes.
Right.
And then you just end the stream regardless. You just you just stick to the ideal length and you do it that way. And this way you get thousands of paid subscribers and you are absolutely in clover. So that's the in case you're wondering about like the best business practices for current chess streaming, there they are. I've told you
15 minutes.
Great secrets. And again, today we definitely had a risk of a 15-minute stream, but it's dissipated.
It has dissipated. I don't see anything else. I'm having a quick look at the Twitch chat. Obviously, I think we're on Twitch.
Meowie Baba says, or don't stream at all like Peter, still get subs. Yeah. Yeah, I need to get on that refund train at some point. I have a feeling I'm defrauding people out of money.
Yeah, this might be a good moment actually, Peter, for us to go for a very quick breather with not much action going on. What say
we could do that, yeah, but it's a bit, like, generally speaking, it's a bit early for us to take a break.
Is it? Because it's been such a long time since I've streamed. But what is your average break time?
I don't entirely disagree though, because
if it was super exciting,
with only one game running and this being the game,
exactly,
it feels like we're not really betraying our beloved chat too much.
Yeah, and we could swindle everybody else into becoming premium members during the break.
Absolutely, yeah. Give the man a break, yeah.
Why don't you all do this? Why don't you all go to your lovely little coats or sweaters? What you got? Get your little credit cards out. Whatever it doesn't matter which one it is. Visa, MasterCard. It all works. We take it all. Become a premium member. And do you know what I'm going to do in the break? I'm going to make 1, a cup of tea, and 2, I'm actually going to watch the start of that series on Magnus's World Championship. I'm just very curious how it's all going to start. So, what have we got? 5-10 minutes, something along those lines?
Yeah, we could definitely organize like a 5-minute break here.
There you go. 5-10 minutes, and
we'll be back.
We'll be back.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
See you later.
Okay, so let's send a challenge.
Here is challenging me. Nice graphics, easy to see. What are you thinking about? You're looking how it can be the most painful?
Exactly. Okay, fine.
That I give up a phone. He wants to be even rude.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
When I saw her for the first time, it was love at first sight. I love how rich and complex she is, how sharp and principled her first steps, how graceful her movement. Paris is a city of love. I've come to find my love for the French defense.
I'm ahead of the game. Well, the phone is always ringing. I'm caught up on the line. Got a string around my finger. Remember who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker, but follow me. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Well, I'm only ever slinging. I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer, the melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy. Logically, I'm impossibly wanted. And they'll remember my name. They'll remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Well, I'm ahead now. Well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game.
E5, it's E5 Patzers.
A complete repertoire against 1E4 based on 1E5, now available to study with Chessable's unique Move Trainer technology. The backbone is the Marshall Gambit against the Spanish, with 3 Knight F6 against the Italian. Jan Gustafsson has revisited all these lines he has played for 20 years and worked on as a second for Peter Lecco and Magnus Carlsen, amongst others, with the help of the most powerful engines out there, Leela 0 and Stockfish 10. This has led to many new discoveries and a repertoire ready to master on Chessable that can serve the student for a long chess career.
Maybe E4 doesn't exist after all.
E5, it's E5 Patzers. Hi everyone, welcome to our new video series. My name is Jan Gustafsson and I'm thrilled to be reunited with fellow Magnus Carlsen's trainers, seconds, Peter Heine Nielsen, Magnus Carlsen's head coach, and Laurent Fressinet, Magnus Carlsen's French coach, are both here, and we will be going through the World Championship match 2021. Our experiences with it, the games, what we prepared, where we felt things went well, where we felt things didn't go well, Peter, we have different perspectives because we were in different locations.
Very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about it because you were in Thailand during all the match and I was in Dubai with Magnus and his non-chess team. So I see some kind of debriefing where we will discuss what was the mood in Dubai, what was happening in the technical department in Thailand, and we got to sort of basically compare notes and get the two kind of inside looks from the match.
Very much so. And Laurent, we are actually in your private home. Thanks for having us.
It's a big pleasure to welcome both of you. And I'm sure it will be interesting to talk to you guys about the match.
Likewise.
So we hope you guys enjoy the series with our behind the scenes insights. See you then.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game. And get paired with players from around the world, fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
And we're back with the not the conclusion, but might be the conclusion, but we don't know for sure. And there you have the graphic. This is what we are watching. Semifinals finished yesterday with a very, very dramatic tiebreak between Dmitry Andreikin and Anish Giri, in which Anish had two very good positions and ended up scoring half a point out of them. losing the match to Dmitry, who is now playing against Richard Rapport, who won also a very, very dramatic semifinal against MVL, in which he outprepared him in both games, and then almost lost the second one, only to pull it back from the brink, up the absolute brink during the second time control. MVL played that game really, really well for like 45 moves, and then started making slight inaccuracies, and eventually ended up not winning what was a very, very good endgame. And yeah, this endgame is less good in as much as, you know, excitement is on the cards here. It feels like a very, very dry position in which we are expecting f3, because as we've mentioned earlier, rook a7, rook g2 really does not look like a winning attempt, with the threat against the bishop on g2, on a2 being a little bit too strong. We were looking at this position with the pawn on g6. With the pawn on g5, there is bishop h5, which previously did not exist, but bishop g6, bishop f3, bishop e4 still covers that topic very, very efficiently. And yeah, the rook endgames are just not going to be better for white, or at least this is not the best version of it. If you have to allow bishop takes f3, you're clearly not getting the absolute best version of that rook endgame. So we are expecting f3, and here rook d2, bishop c4. I don't think there's a particularly convincing solution. The pawn on g5, as we mentioned, does offer black the chance to go bishop g6, but I don't think you ever choose this endgame over any of the other options, and I don't think there is a way to draw this. You don't have to resign immediately, but after bishop takes f3, rook takes f7, yeah, I just don't see how this doesn't end up being very, very poor for black. Maybe not immediately lost, maybe you don't have to resign straight away, but you are in a lot of trouble here, because bishop d5 once again allows rook d7. I'm now slightly worried that this might just be a draw. Like, some of these positions are actually difficult to win, but obviously it's absolutely insane to go for this voluntarily.
Right.
You sometimes don't lose these positions because you end up playing them and they turn out to be difficult to convert, and you don't lose them. And it might be a theoretical draw, but unless you're absolutely certain it is, I think it's just insanity to go for this instead of the move bishop g3, which we assume is the main line here. And now white pretty much has to accept some version of this endgame, which will last a bit, but doesn't really look like it should be too much of a problem. There was a mention in chat that white should be actually trying to fix the pawn on h7, perhaps playing rook a5, h6, and now g4. The issue with that is that you also cut off your own king along the back rank. So yeah, that position I also don't really think black loses very much, even though it might actually be the better version. Like, if black just continues waiting forever and whoops, that's not waiting, that's me being misclicky as usual. Maybe if you get to this position and white goes king f1 and we continue waiting and waiting and waiting, this is a better version. But honestly, for quite some time already, black could have played h6, h5 and started trading on the king side here, because rook takes f7, rook takes a6 is not a problem. Like, we could have,
right.
The moment this appears on the board, we can start playing h5 here. Hang on, rook a6, f6 is fine. And we start removing pawns from the king side, or perhaps even playing h5, h4 to make giving up the king side for white even an even riskier proposition than usual. Yeah, I don't think very many of these endgames actually get lost. Why not take a7? I think I just gave a speech on this topic, but yeah, the short reply is rook a7, rook d2 is a much more comfortable draw than f3. Rook a7, only real chance, but seems very. I'm pretty sure f3 is a better chance than rook a7. I would be very, very shocked if rook a7 was actually stronger in terms of winning chances.
Nonsense Now 31, just off topic, says, but what kind of tea was drunken? Yeah, I have got. It hasn't been drunken just yet. But but if you get it, you'll win a very special prize. And that's going to come up in a moment, actually. So if you can guess this nonsense now 31, which tea I'm currently drinking, given the hundreds of different kinds there are, you might win something special.
Yeah, you seem to be enjoying giving people these kinds of quote unquote free rolls where, you know.
Well, I did actually, and one guy nearly tricked me out of a series because he actually sent the answer in after I had given, after either the time had elapsed or I'd given the answer, and I didn't realize. And I got all these details, and I was ready to send it off, and then I double checked. I thought, "Oh, you sneaky guy! You did it after the contest had ended." Yorkshire tea, no. Twinings, no.
Lapsang Souchong.
No, actually, it's funny you said my dad likes Lapsang Souchong. No, it's not that.
Puer.
What do you mean where? Where does my dad?
Puer.
Where?
Puer.
Puer, no. Tetley's, no. Orange tea. What is this? I'm not saying, you know, I'm a working class boy, but, you know, I don't just drink Tetley's and watch the cricket like some people I commentate with. No, not Chinese tea, puer. Green tea, no. You're all terrible. Green tea, no.
We're all terrible.
You're all terrible. Rook takes a7 wins on.
No, it doesn't. No, people are getting overexcited about Rook.
People are they reading the machine lines again, are they? I don't know what's going on here. Okay, Earl Grey, no. Picard's Earl Grey, that's very specific, no. Irish tea, no. What is Irish tea anyway?
Something with whiskey, I guess. I don't know.
No, that's a hot toddy, isn't it? That's what they call it. A hot.
It's an Irish coffee, but yeah, Irish tea is probably something.
Yeah. Irish coffee, no. Rooibos, no. Good guess. I do like a bit of rooibos. What's your favorite tea, actually, Peter?
We've been drinking sort of the same mix for ages and ages because we're lazy buggers and just kind of stick to our stuff. It's a kind of a Earl Grey mix, but slightly with some additions to the sort of the classical Earl Grey.
It's important to have the additions. Maybe you can tell us when it. No, I'm actually. It's. I give you guys. If I see it in the chat, I'll mention. Otherwise, with the tea chat's going to get a little bit sad. That said, this position isn't really one to rave about, as we've been commenting on. So maybe if nothing does happen for the foreseeable.
Yeah, I wonder if Chad is so excited about Rook A7 specifically because Bishop G. Like, I've been sort of praising G5 over G6, but it does give White an option of playing Bishop G4 here. And if you play F5 after Bishop H5, the Bishop actually stays on. G4 looks promising, but White can play H3 maybe, but we have G3 with it.
G3,
yeah. Because otherwise, if you play Bishop F5 here, if you continue doing the same thing, might be an improvement.
Okay. Yeah.
You can make an argument, even though like how much of an improvement this is very much open to maybe not very much or not at all, because we still have the same counterplay. So yeah, I'm really wondering where all the love for Rook takes A7 comes from, because yeah, this position looks much safer for Black than the other one. I just don't see how, like, it can't really be this, can it?
I wouldn't have thought.
I mean, this has to be a draw. Like, yes, the A pawn will run, but there's a number of ways you can kind of go about making a draw here, and one is just like go straight up, go after the H2 pawn, and then give up the bishop for the A pawn. Or you can keep the rook active and play, like, I don't know, rook C2. It might be this, though. I've been wondering about this for a bit, because all the rook endings you just kind of know how to draw, and this might become a position in which you are forced to make concrete decisions. At least you still suspect it's a very safe position for Black, but at least there will be concrete questions asked. I made the joke, but the engine gives +002 for rook f7 and only +001 for f3. Okay, yeah, that would also explain things. Bye. Thanks for providing some context. I had an inkling that this might be the case. I'm still waiting for a move here, because it might tell us something about how Andreikin feels about things.
How well do you know Dmitry Andreikin?
Not very well.
Okay.
We've obviously sort of played for the same teams and so on, and I've been around him for ages and ages, but we're not close. He kind of keeps to himself. He is not part of any kind of a cliques, in as much as cliques do exist in Russian chess. He very much, he's a family man. He spends a lot of time with his wife and their child, and does seem to be keeping to himself quite a lot. But every time I read an interview with Dmitry, he strikes me as a very interesting person. He strikes me as somebody who, because he is, this kind of a stereotypical, like, second echelon Russian player, extremely strong, but sort of not very famous, doesn't really get any invites to like really high profile tournaments, has not really won, a one breakout event which would, propel him into some kind of international fame. So people in the West, and arguably maybe even some people in Russia, don't really know him all that much compared to some of the more, recognizable personalities. But he just, like, every time I hear him talk, or I read his interviews, he seems to think very deeply about things and have very strong, kind of quietly developed very strong opinions on a number of topics, where sort of sticking his head above the parapet is not maybe even expected of him.
Right.
The more I kind of learn about him, the more I like him, would be the way to describe my current attitude towards him.
Okay.
He has won the Russian championship once in a huge tiebreak. I think in 2010 it was, when it was, I think, a 10-person round robin in Moscow, and like 5 people tied for first on +1, and there was like a huge rapid tiebreak which he won by beating me, among others, or maybe even 2 times by this point. Yeah, maybe I'm lying about this. Definitely that one I remember, but maybe he's won it an additional time since. Obviously a tremendously strong player, got to the final of the World Cup once.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, like, no doubt at all about his credentials. But I think, in particular, because of his absolutely, bona fide credentials, he is somewhat surprisingly and kind of an unknown quality in terms of like exactly who he is and where he stands and so on. But yeah, I've been quietly very, very impressed by him as a person over the last years.
Fantastic. There you go.
He also won it in 2018. Yeah, thanks, Liquidator. And yeah, it feels weird to, it was obviously his choice to play this line, and it's move 20, and he is down to 28 minutes against 115 for Richard. But after, the trials and tribulations of yesterday, he can very easily just, like, it's such a safe position to invest time in, because whatever he does, there is zero risk of losing. So he might as well just try to figure out if there is any way to pause any kind of significant problems. And if not, he can choose one of the myriad of ways of just making a very, very easy, very safe draw here, which nobody will begrudge him.
Yep, absolutely. Now, while we do that, Sotiris might want to do the big reveal. Now, guys, mentioned before the break, of course, there's the very special series by Jan Gustafsson, Levon Frisson and Peter Heine Nielsen, the core part of Team Magnus for their match. But if you really want to learn about chess, the following series is the one you have to take a look at. The Best of Judith Polgar, the greatest woman player of all time. No debate. somebody I admire and adore, who I've had the pleasure of working with, of getting to know over the years. I've worked at her own festival numerous times that she does for promotion of chess with kids and otherwise. She's an exceptional role model. She obviously works for the group. She's an ambassador for the group. She is my idol in many ways. And I was asked in honor of the year of the woman in chess, or 2022 has been, well, for some people perhaps don't know that, this is the year dedicated to women's chess, to record a series on her best games. Now, obviously, she's played tons and tons and tons of brilliant games. And I actually asked Judith, before I recorded the series, which of the games do you consider your best ever games? Now, of course, everything is up for debate, and there might be a game or two in there you might say, well, that's not really her best game, but I put it in there and it will be relevant for a reason. For example, one game that I analyzed of Judith's was her first win ever against a grandmaster called Lev Gutman, who, ironically, I was sitting next to at the Bundesliga last weekend. And it wasn't her best game by a million miles, but it was a landmark game for her because she beat a grandmaster at the age of 11. Of course, the series does contain a number of other her most famous games, for example, against Shirov, for example. There are tons of her brilliant attacking displays. And if you're interested in that, I suggest you go, if you're not premium, you have to become a premium member, become premium and watch that series, and you'll learn how the greatest of all time, and also has to be said, when you think of the greatest attacking players of all time, she probably actually just goes in that group of all the attacking players of all time.
Yeah, she absolutely, she was a very, very scary proposition to play against. I think I started by losing my first, 5 or 6 games against her. There were some draws mixed in, but my record somewhat improved in later years. But yeah, I began by immediately getting into a huge minus against Judith because I kept on getting those seemingly promising positions and then just getting mated because she would just outcalculate me time and time again.
She was
so yeah, you don't have to convince me on any of the things you said. I've been there,
What was really interesting, I didn't really discuss this in this series, but I've discussed it with Judith, was that when I asked her who was her biggest problem player of all time, it's Vladimir Kramnik. She just couldn't deal with Vlad for whatever reason. Her score against Vlad lifetime was really bad, and that was her bogeyman. But against anybody else, she did well against Shirov, Kasparov, Topalov, Anand. She had, she really didn't, she really held her own for many, many, many years when she was a top 10. Top 15 player. So check out the series.
Yeah, you have even more incentive now to guess that elusive tea that Lawrence is drinking because you might.
Yeah, nobody has guessed it yet. I'm actually getting a bit sad, but I just so people don't complain, I'm actually going to take the bag out and just show you guys what's going on here. Now, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, you can't see it. It's upside down. Can you see it?
Oh dear.
No,
well, sort of, but not particularly.
Camille. Nobody said Camille. Right? Did anybody say Camille tea? I didn't see it in the chat. If you did, let me know, and maybe we can work something out for you as a special gift. And
do you mean chamomile or?
No, I've got Camille. It says Camille. K-A. Yeah, it's probably chamomile in English, right? Chamomile. Nobody said chamomile, right?
Yeah. My wife drinks that.
It's a very good tea. It's good for the nervous system. Good for sleep, apparently.
Yes. I could have won the video series on Judith.
Never mind.
God damn. Anyway.
All right.
Breaking news. The move that
breaking news. H3. The board is on fire.
Yeah. Well, not exactly, but it's an interesting option because he keeps the bishop on e2 kind of unencumbered. Perhaps after bishop d3, you can play, I don't know, bishop h5, bishop g6, and then bishop f3 and try to preserve the bishops on the board while still putting pressure on the a7 pawn. So the difference between h3 and f3, I think, is specifically in that bishop d3 does not force the bishops off the board here as it would in the other line. But on the other hand, black, of course, is now free to play something else. The bishop isn't hanging, so for instance, you can play a5 here, which I thought might be not a very stupid choice, using the fact that rook c5, rook d5, I think is completely safe for the time being. Otherwise, a5 would have been problematic, but I think specifically because we have rook d5 as a resource, it might be okay. But yeah, interesting choice by Andrekin, and once again, he's showing that it's kind of similar, at least in spirit, to that Karyakin video game, in that I still suspect he, if not kind of aimed to make a short draw today, that would be slightly insulting to Dmitry. I think he was perfectly fine, let's say, with Richard just showing him a forced draw and the game being a draw.
Right.
But now that Richard chose something which potentially allows him to continue, he will very, very seriously look for ways to continue and to pose actual problems, as you can see, because h3 is definitely a move of somebody who is not planning to agree to a draw here until it's absolutely necessary, because both of the other options were entirely safe and would also give him a pawn up position, just not the one you can win.
Okay, so
I like a5, yeah, and better than Magnus also says a5 is an easy draw. My question here is, what's the reply to rook a7? Because I don't think we can continue passing. I think if you don't do anything at all here, some kind of a move like perhaps rook d4 or king g7 or something will improve the black position to such an extent that there will no longer be any way to create threats. So the question that worries me is specifically rook a7. And now, if rook d5, bishop c4, it looks kind of awkward. Maybe you can still f5, but I'm sort of no longer really enjoying this very much because we've mispositioned our pieces quite a bit.
Yeah.
And rook d2 continues being kind of a problem for black for the very same reasons that they were before. a5 played. So yeah, rook c5, rook d5 is a very easy draw. Obviously, f3, bishop d3 is not an improvement for white because it's once again the same endgame, but also the pawn a7 isn't even hanging, so we're definitely not winning this with white. But after rook a7, I'm still very sure this is holdable for black. I'm just wondering what the cleanest way of holding it is.
So if you go rook a8 here,
I have rook a8. Yeah, that would be.
But okay, rook e7, bishop d5 is that it? And just plant the bishop on a3 and king f8 or something.
King f8. I mean, I kind of.
Oh no, rook e5. I'm blundering. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's play bishop.
I wanted to go bishop. That's what I wanted to do first. I wanted to go bishop e6.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is safe.
That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Yeah. Fair enough. So
that's it. Okay. So h3 wasn't really.
I mean, it really isn't a worse move than f3, despite the fact it will look that Andrekin failed to win a pawn where he could have won a pawn, but those rook endings, I'm pretty sure, are for a player kind of who has seen rook endings before, are not a very difficult draw at all. So yeah, I don't think this is a poorer choice than any of the other options. And yes, he probably will not win the game anyway, but that is not a critique. It's just he played a line which will be a draw against proper defense, and he's playing a very strong player who is defending properly. So none of this is, breaking news.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other try here? I mean, by the way, no.
Go on.
No, I just was mildly speculating. Rook a7, rook a8. We exchange rook.
Yeah, I was wondering about that as well. Yeah, but the king is
play f3 or so.
But you're not really faster, right? And also, if you
also f5, f4 might exist here, actually.
Like if you actually continue pressing here, you might find yourself regretting it later.
Yeah.
You imagine.
No, I was trying to find. I wonder if the king is on f1 there, whether rather than g1, whether that actually.
King f1.
No, it's.
I don't know.
If it was, let's just say h6, whether
this
something like this. Yeah, I'm just mildly curious, but I don't know. It's a lot
But once
of
again,
counting.
maybe you're losing. Yeah,
Yeah, I could just lose.
you might as well be like.
Yeah.
We can just like it takes me 0 seconds to click.
Yeah,
so
yeah, of course. Yeah, you're very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're losing this with
Yeah,
white.
yeah, we're dead lost. Yeah.
We're losing this with white. So yeah, it's not really a winning attempt.
No, it's not. You have to look at such things.
Yeah, I mean it's a fair question. I also we got here and I asked myself, is the bishop ending very safe? And then yeah, you basically instantly answer with that with the affirmative. It is very, very safe.
Yeah.
But you do have to wonder for a second whether there is something here. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, a5 is just a very solid.
Yeah, it's a good move.
Richard declines an invitation to calculate when he can just save the pawn for now and move all of those conversations for to a later date where.
Was the Petrov a bit of a surprise? Does Richard?
No, he plays it all the time now.
Does he? Okay, he plays it all the time. Okay, that's how out of whack I am. I can't even remember Richard playing the Petrov that much.
He became just a lot more solid in recent years. Yeah,
Really?
I think your image, like the mental image you have, is a very kind of a reasonable mental image. It's just outdated.
Yes.
He used to kind of, if he had any choice whatsoever, he would play something offbeat, and yeah, he wouldn't be seen dead playing the Petrov. But
right,
it has become a lot more practical in those terms. If bishop h5, I think we just go bishop g6.
White can win a pawn rook c5, right?
Yeah, but then we go rook d1,
rook d1, rook d2. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, we go rook d1, rook d2, and we never lose. I mean, a4.
No, we never lose.
The game sort of continues, but the issue is, yeah, like even if I do this, right, I just still never lose. Yeah, it's just 3 against 2 does not become better for white compared to 4 against 3. It's still a very comfortable draw. Just start pushing.
I wonder when Richard decided to become a bit more solid and mainstream. That's kind of curious. Like, what prompted him? Did he just realize I can't really get away with playing this nonsense at top level?
I think maybe at some point he realized he is good enough at chess to start, contesting for the absolute highest honors, and that requires him not to be much worse in every black game, and to, occasionally be better with white. And he shelved at least, some of his wilder stuff, because, like, in terms of natural talent, I think there was never any doubt about how good he is. But he was, once he got to a situation where he started playing in the tournaments with the absolute best in the world. I'm guessing, once again, I've had some conversation with him recently, but not about this. But I'm guessing that basically he realized he is giving such a handicap to people he is playing now, day in, day out, that if he wants to not just sort of have fun and express himself, but also kind of win tournaments, not games of chess, which he did in the old times as well against very, very strong players playing his normal stuff, but actually start winning tournaments. That sort of requires consistency, which is harder to produce when you're playing all kinds of random stuff.
Here's a trivia question. The highest rated Hungarian of all time must have been Peter, I would have assumed. Or is Richard actually close?
I think Richard might be now the high, because I can't really remember how high Peter Lecker got to. Judith, I think got to 2740 or thereabouts,
yeah,
right?
I would guess that Peter got to 2780, but I could be out of whack. That's curious. Let's get some chat on that, actually.
Easy to check, yeah.
Okay.
2763.
Oh, so he is. That's it. There's nobody else, right? Borges didn't get there.
Yeah, there were some extremely strong Hungarian players who probably would have been rated sort of inflation adjusted. I think it's very possible that somebody like Lajos Portish was, in modern figures, was higher than 2760 at his absolute pomp, where he was like number 3 in the world very easily.
Yes.
But that was obviously where there were like 2700 players in the entire world, and he was like 80 or whatever. So yeah, I think Richard, if we assume, hang on a second, but what's Richard's?
2772.
No, but that's live.
Ah, that's live. So
And the new list is coming out. Like, if he absolutely bombs in Berlin.
yeah, of course he could.
Which he like. Oh no, he doesn't play Berlin. This is his last. He doesn't. Yeah. Okay, then he's probably going to be okay in that respect. Yeah.
Wonderful. Congratulations assuming he makes, actually probably, even if
people are saying he already hit 2770 on the list earlier, so.
Okay, so Richard is the highest of all time in Hungary.
Yeah, he was 2770 in October 2021, so that actually is, his current levels represent a bit of a downswing.
That's interesting. Zorom in the chat says Maroshi was #1 in the world for several months in the early 1900s. There you go. I didn't know that, according to chess metrics. So Maroshi was and Peter was never world #1, right? Even at his peak. Is that right? No, he can't.
Leko?
Yeah, no, he can't.
I mean, he was playing, in the era of
Kasparov and
Giants, and he was obviously very, very high rated and very, very high ranked as well. But yeah,
he probably only got to 3 or 4, didn't he?
Yeah, like #4 in the world, I can very easily believe. Yeah, maybe 3, but I think like when he hit his peaks, Kasparov was still active, and Kramnik was always around 2800, and there was Vichy, and Topalov was always very, very high rated. So. Yeah, not entirely sure.
Yeah, Marochi didn't have enough money to challenge Lasker. Yeah, that's how it was. How you had to stump up the money. Adoryan was nowhere near.
Of the old school, it has to be Portish, but Portish just played in the era where.
And Ripley, I guess not either, right? Ripley
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay, Rook A7 is on the board, so we're expecting Rook A8. As Peter said, Rook D5 lands. It's a bit awkward after Bishop H5, Rook F5, and F3. That's kind of a dislocation of pieces.
Yeah, so I've actually looked this up, and Peter has been #4 in the world on a bunch of lists, and
Peter
4
has.
on a bunch of lists as well, but I don't see a #3 on there, but definitely #4 a reasonably long, a large number of times.
What was your all-time high, Peter?
I think I was #3 one list.
Okay. In what year was that?
Wish I could remember, yeah. I think my highest is like 2769, and I was #4 at one point in my career.
Okay. I look forward to seeing
7 Rook A8 played, and
we might even get a Rook E7.
No.
Yeah, and now Bishop D5, Bishop E6.
Yeah, you go Bishop D5, provoke A3, and you make a precise move of some sort here. I mean, H6. I actually kind of like Bishop E6 here, just to drive the Rook away and then start coming out, and it's just a very safe draw now. Yeah,
so with the white pieces tomorrow, Richard, he'll want to put it. I think he's gonna try, isn't he? Quite hard tomorrow. I mean, he's not going to go for something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it very much depends on the outcome of the opening, but. Once again, if we return to the stuff that Andreikin has been showing with the black pieces here, he seems to be, like, considering he did not change against Anish, he played this against him in a round, and then he played it again yesterday, and he actually went for this line, which has been considered dodgy for quite a while now, and also the way he played it will do nothing to dispel that impression. Yeah, I think you just go E4 and you ask him, okay, so what's the plan currently? You don't appear to be playing any of the, ultra solid, boring stuff that people are afraid of. So I would very much like just to play E4 against you and get a game. Of course, Andreikin has historically he's played other things as well. He's played the Berlins, he's played the more solid openings. But for this tournament, it seems like he kind of likes the idea of just playing a game, and yeah, Richard will not mind that one bit. And yeah, this is now kind of hurtling towards a draw because we've discussed this.
Bishop f3 is on.
Yeah, once again, the a-pawn, the cleanest way to make a draw here is just to do something like this. You just do it on your own. You just force them to take, and you play h5, and somewhere around here negotiations begin. Because yeah, there's once the king side gets destroyed like this, there's just no way you can play this for a draw for a win. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
You absolutely can also draw this position by keeping the pawn on a5 alive, I'm pretty sure. But I think in terms of like practical ease of making sure this is a draw, just activating the rook straight away is by far the most efficient. Just get it on an active square, and the game ends.
Yep. Looks pretty dead. Somebody saying in chat that Richard plays d4, not e4.
Yeah, he is in general very much a 1d4 player, but
yes,
that does not mean that against somebody who is playing the Sicilian all the time, and specifically this Sicilian, I think he is definitely good enough to just switch it up. Although, yeah, I mean, it is a very fair comment, and even in this tournament, he very much has been playing 1d4. He won that game against MVL in the Grunfeld. He had a very, very good position that he ended up not winning against Fedoseev in the round robin and so on. But still, there is, once again, maybe I'm basing this on my general impression of Richard as a player instead of what he actually does. But I think he is enough of an all-rounder in terms of first move choices to adjust to a repertoire by Andreikin, which I think is a lot more ironclad against 1d4. Even though I think in this tournament Andreikin has played this, right?
I wouldn't know because I've not watched the game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did this in either one of the pool games, or maybe in the semis against. Was it in the semis? No, it wasn't in the semis. It wasn't in one of the pool games. Can't immediately recall against whom. And okay, if this is your repertoire with the black against 1d4, I guess you don't have to play the Sicilian. This is also quite nice, and I think this is also very much something that Richard will enjoy having on the white side of. Yeah, in the pools against Sam Shankland, there was a game Shankland and
Right.
Reichen, which this was played thanks to Thierry's.
Who's
There's
impressed
definitely
you?
options.
Who has impressed you the most of the players that have played in the series so far? Let's talk about more of the lesser known, or rather on paper the weaker players. You know, the Predkers and the Tabatabais.
I thought, and you know, this is once again like kind of a throwback to things that have since become somewhat polarizing, but I am. I wish Andrei Yesipenko got more of a chance to play. And when he did get a chance and played in the first Berlin leg, he did very, very well and came to within basically one precise move of calculating ahead of Hikaru out of that group. That is not just like Hikaru and Levon were definitely the best two players in the tournament. Like the entire narrative of, you know, Hikaru's so lucky he should have lost to Yesipenko and never qualified. You know, the entire thing is an RNG fiesta. That's obviously entirely bullshit. He got to the final and beat Levon because he played very, very well.
Right.
But I think Andrei showed why he is, you know, considered to be such a promising young player and why most of us think has a very bright future ahead of him. But he's not part of the actual, you know, Grand Prix because he only got there due to, you know, some people failing to make it to Berlin. And you know, in terms of people who haven't really been setting the world on fire, it's hard to choose one. I think, you know, Vidit played very well in the first half of this, and then things kind of went entirely pear-shaped from a certain point on. The above-mentioned Sam Shankland is, quietly very much climbing the ranks of, people you don't want to be competing opening knowledge with, in terms of opening knowledge with. Like the amount of very, very on-point prep Sam shows per tournament is these days second to very, very few people.
Right.
He doesn't really have the results to show for it in terms of Grand Prix because middle games and end games did not entirely go his way. But in this tournament, it was very heartbreaking for him in particular, I think, because he was like up until move 35 of the Andrakin Bakro game in the last round of the pools, he was guaranteed a playoff against somebody. And then Bakro just in the space of like 3 moves between moves 35 and 38, Bakro lost a +6 position.
Yeah, I did see that one actually. That was
so Sam would have had a very, very decent shout at qualifying for the semis.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking for him actually, wasn't it?
And just to bring it back a little bit, this is a choice I probably wouldn't have made, but this is a very This is a very cute move, actually, because he is making a draw by force, basically. He is saying, I'm stopping rook e5 here. You have to waste the tempo on playing something like rook c7 or rook wherever. And now we go rook c8, rook b5, and we go rook c3. And we attack the pawn on f3, and we're also saying, would you please allow me to play rook a3, sir?
Right.
So we get the same position, but white isn't even a pawn up.
Yeah.
Which is like an obvious, like even with the pawn on f3, this is a very, very easy draw. But without the pawn on f3, there's really nothing to discuss. There's like no conversation to be had.
That's a clever idea then.
So, yeah, it's a kind of a fun way to just not have to play any kind of a defensive. Even though, like, I think if I have to choose between this position and this position, I think I choose the one with the king on f6, even though both of them are a draw.
Just because you've got the active king.
Yeah, I really dislike having my king cut off on the back rank, even though I completely understand that like black is just not losing.
H4 is just no way to win.
Black is just not losing this. We kind of all know this, but the issue here is that we get to some kind of a position like this, and then after king king f1, I don't know, I make a move, and after king f1, we can never take on h3 because with the king cut off, this always wins the rook.
Right.
So, like, I think I would have preferred to be a pawn down there compared to this, but maybe there is a way to avoid it anyway, or to make an immediate forced draw here, because yeah, this kind of annoys me a little bit, to be honest. Even though I still absolutely feel like it's an easy draw. I guess we just sort of we never take on h3. Like we get to here, we play f5, we play g4, we create our own passer. It's just a dead draw anyway. Shouldn't really oversell how dangerous this is when it really isn't dangerous at all. But yeah, still kind of it's not a huge talking point, but it's an interesting kind of a deviation from how you approach these types of positions. Because yeah, I just feel, in particular after GF has happened, the moment we activate our rook, we no longer have to think about anything. It's just like such an easy draw that you really don't have to worry. And Richard instead like spends 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever it was, and finds a way not to even be a pawn down. Which yeah is curious, just not the way I would have approached this. Same result though.
Yeah, same result. And curious, how long does Andrakin have it? 16 minutes. Okay, he's got.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. 30-second increment also. I mean, draw will become available in 5 moves time. Really doesn't matter.
Right. So they're allowed to offer draws after move 30.
After move 30, yeah. After move 30.
All right. This might be another good moment just to remind you guys, if you have just joined us, we are only a couple hours in. But the game has gone down a very theoretical path. Here are the standings. At the moment, this is the final, of course, and today is game 1. Game 2 will be tomorrow, And as Peter kindly reminded me, if it is a draw today and a draw tomorrow, the tie breaks will take place, or the playoffs, I should say, on Monday. They will not take place after the game tomorrow. So we'll see about that one. And we can do the standings if you want as well, just to remind you.
That actually is a very
Let's have a look at the standings. Here they are. Rapport on 17 points, playing Andrake. The star means that they are in place. So at least one of these guys will get another 3 points. Well, sorry, one of these, not at least, one of these guys specifically will get another 3 points. We've already discussed, if you want to check out the stream once we're done, of course, that if we discussed it at length, but if Rapport wins his final, he's pretty much a lock. He might even be mathematically a lock given the group pairings of the Berlin Grand Prix. But if Andraken wins, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Everybody who is currently on 7 points is still in the run. Apart from Vidit, because I think Vidit played 2 events, and everybody else on 7 played 1 event. So, there's going to be if this ends up with Andraken first and Richard second, the Berlin leg that starts in a week's time becomes incredibly exciting because the pool stages will be crucial and we'll have lots and lots at stake. And Andraken just declines. He continues saying, let's continue playing this game of chess, goes King G2, which after, let's say, Rook C8, Rook A7, Rook C3 is no longer very convincing, but we can play Rook C5 and then Rook F5, and this is yet another position which you kind of never lose.
Of course, yeah.
Like, just get the Rook over to F5, and then the weakness on F3 provides you with plentiful counterplay for the rest of the game.
Yeah, you can also just play H5 very quickly, Rook F5. The Rook can't even be bothered.
Yeah, we can get it all the way to H4, get the Rook to F4.
Or put it on H4, it just doesn't...
Nobody's better. Like, nobody's better, nobody's worse. It's just very, very level.
Yes, indeed. And just Svidler and Trent in the commentary, Yash says. Jan is, I don't know exactly where Jan is.
He's doing commentary on some kind of a German streamer event.
Ah, okay.
Is otherwise
non-chess related?
No, very, very chess related. Just
chess related.
Kind of a streamer tournament.
Okay, got it.
I think his point is he wants to play Rook C8, Rook A7, Rook C5, F4. That is not to say this is winning, but I'm pretty sure this is what he means to do. GF King F3 and try to like kick the rook away, and if it goes to F5, but obviously like this is a comfortable draw, and also F4. I suspect the cleanest way is just to go Rook F5 anyway, FG, and get to this position, put the pawn on H5, and once again the pawn is too weak. But he's
trying everything.
Yeah, not resigned to never asking a single question again in this game. The questions he will be asking are not going to be very, very difficult, but he is still very insistent on asking every last one.
Jinxie Bell says, what happens if more than 2 players finish on the same amount of points after leg 3? We discussed that as well. The tie-break system is...
I can read that out again because it's...
Yeah, read that out again. Yeah, let's do that.
First tie-break is the number of wins in the Grand Prix. So currently, whoever wins this and Hikaru have the best tiebreak in the business. Second tiebreak is number of runner-up places in all of the Grand Prix. Then number of actual standard game points across the 2 legs that you've played. And that, I assume, includes the knockouts as well. Then the number of actual wins in standard games across the 2 tournaments that you've played. Also, I assume, including not just the pool games, but the knockout games. And after that, if you're still somehow... dead equal, you go and flip for it.
And that possibility is, or that permutation
not
is
very likely, not
in
very likely.
Probably tens of thousands or something like that.
That should not be very probable.
Rook C8 played by
played, and it's I'm pretty sure it is Rook A7 and F4 because allowing the rook to get to f5 with the pawn still on f3, that really is not a way to play for a win.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't really have much. I mean, it's very difficult to commentate on this. Oh, he did play rook.
Yeah, there's.
Oh no, rook a7 is now.
Yeah, what you've observed on the screen there is the DGT board glitching for like a brief second, and then
that's right, yeah,
unglitching itself, because we've been watching this for a while now. They've become very, very sensitive to pieces being moved. Rook c5 also played.
Is that just in this tournament, or is it?
No, it started early. It started early.
Oh, okay.
I think it was already sort of observable during the Dubai match between Magnus and Jan.
And f4, yeah.
Yeah, f4 played, but yeah, you have a choice of comfortable draws here for black. It's just, I think, like, if you don't even want to bother, just play GF, king f3, rook c3 check. Once again, allowing rook a3 is not a very promising winning attempt, so you probably take on f4, we take on h3, you take on a5, we go king f7. Once the king gets removed from the back rank, like, why is my outside passer any worse than your outside passer here, you have to ask. Just a very, very easy draw, but also not taking and playing rook f5 is completely fine as well.
Question in chat: does anybody have any news on Jem Ivanchuk? I have no idea. Is the honest answer. I don't know where Vasily is, or I don't know if anybody can shed light on that. But no is the answer.
Shubhra Gupta says, I was rooting for Anish to win this thing. Does he still have chances to qualify for the candidates? He pretty much needs to win the second leg. I think there might be some scenarios in which being a runner-up might be enough. But then he most likely will tie with somebody on 17. If he wins Berlin, the one that starts in a week, he gets to 20 points. And yeah, we assume 20 is enough, even though there are some weird scenarios. No, that actually isn't true, right? For there to be a tie on 20, Anish needs to win the final against Levon. So there is actually a possibility for there to be a three-way tie on 20 points. Rapport wins this, and then the group of death qualifies Levon, and Anish wins the other half. And they meet in the final, and then Anish wins the final against Levon. And then Richard, Levon, and Anish all have 20 points.
20.
And I guess then Levon is probably out, because Levon will have 2 runner-up spots, and the other guys will have won a leg.
Correct. Yeah.
So that actually qualifies Anish ahead of Levon. And whichever other tiebreaks happen don't really matter, because Levon will just immediately drop out of the three-way race, because he will be doing poorer on the very first tiebreak.
That's right.
So yeah, it does seem like, yeah, if Richie wins here, that appears to be like the way there is a three-way tie on 20. But in case of a three-way tie on 20, it probably involves Levon losing in the finals, and then Levon has not won a single leg, and then Levon is out anyway. So yeah, seems like for Rapport specifically, 20 is enough. It might not be enough for Levon. I think that's the current conclusion that I'm getting to.
Yeah, Levon. So Levon actually pretty much needs to win in Berlin.
No,
does he? No, wait, no.
No. He can lose the final to some.
He can lose the final. I beg your pardon.
He can lose the final to somebody who is not on 7.
Right. He can. Yeah. Right. He can lose.
If he loses the final to, I don't know, I mean, a random player who is not in that tie on 7 points currently, he might still be fine. But yeah, if he is in the final against somebody who is still in contention, he needs to win that final.
Does anybody, do you know, maybe you know, Peter, has Hikaru stayed in Europe this whole time, or did he go back to the US?
I think he's back. I think he's been streaming from...
he has been? Okay, fair enough.
Home base.
Okay.
He'll be flying back, I'm guessing, pretty pretty soon because you do need to acclimatize. And
that's what I wanted to ask you. So when you were playing a bit more frequently and you had to change time zones, how often or how what time period would you give yourself to acclimatize to the new time zone? Let's say you were going to the US. But
that conversation only really makes sense in conjunction with let's say the St. Louis tournament specifically, because in the early years, like the Morelia Linares tournaments, or like the candidates that we played in, or the World Championship, like the formula was like the candidates, but it was the World Championship tournament in 2005 in Argentina.
In Argentina, yes.
Yeah. I tend to be at my most dead round about a week in.
Even with the acclimatization period, you mean?
No, I mean from the moment I land.
Oh, I see what you mean. So
from the moment I land, like I tend to be at my most absolute deadest.
Yes.
At about like 5 to 7 days in. But I don't know what to do with this information, so I still make kind of normal plans, and I kind of take my lumps and go from there, because I really don't know what I'm supposed to do with it, because like currently nobody has any tournaments and this doesn't really come up, but in normal cases your schedule is so tightly packed that it's actually not that easy to just tell yourself, I'm just going to arrive a week early, leave home a week early, and because I might not look it, but I am occasionally useful here at home, and I end up just going kind of on a normal schedule. Like I arrive 2-3 days earlier, if it's in the States. And as for the tournaments in Europe, like the 2-hour difference just doesn't
make a difference, does it really? Yeah.
Yeah. So
where's the furthest you've traveled? Actually, where's the most exotic location you've played? Have you ever gone to somewhere?
The furthest probably will be Argentina. I don't know how.
Argentina.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sort of exotic enough on your scale, but it probably has to be Argentina in terms of like just simply distance traveled. I haven't really played much in Asia. I've played a bunch in China, and I played one tournament in India, and that's it. I've not.
But Southern Asia, you've never done Indonesia or
no, never had the chance. No, and GF Roxy 3 chosen by Richie. Yeah, the game is sort of still ongoing, but we know how this movie ends.
We do.
A professional chess player, useful! Exclamation mark! Yeah, I know it's a staggering concept. I'm very surprised at it myself.
Yeah, we know how to adjust the salt and pepper shakes on the table, so we're good at that. That's Bangkok Chess Championships. Now that's a story. I'm the wrong commentator to talk about that. The guy with the curly hair will have to come back and fill you in about that.
He would know. He would know things too.
Say
on that topic. Yeah, I wonder if that actually isn't the thing. I was wondering if Rook A3 can be played here, to pretend that we're playing for a win. But after King F5, you probably don't actually want to be taking on A2 because you might have to be a bit careful in this position. So what you do after King F5 is probably just go back to this and steal a draw. But I think it's just much safer to take on H3, invite Rook takes A5, and get the king off the back rank. And the moment it comes off the back rank, there's no more conversation to be had. Currently, there is maybe some, like Andreikin is maybe considering King G4, but with opponent F4 still alive, I am probably playing Rook A2, King F5 for I mean, I'm pretty sure we make like H5 is slightly cleaner, right? We're making a very clean draw here. Like this is just
just King F8.
It's not a problematic draw. I mean, there is Rook F7, Rook F4, but yeah, we're just not losing this position.
Right.
So yeah, and also after King G4, where like we can play H5 check, I guess, or F5 check or something. I guess the cleanest way to do this would be to take on H3 here, so that we have a check from the 6th in this position. Yeah, that's the way to go. Yeah, we go Rook A3 anyway. But if you play King F5, We take here so that we never have to play any of those moves. We go rook h6 check and then rook h2, and yeah, this will be a draw. This will be a draw.
Yeah, this is. So now we know that effectively bishop f5 is also
probably also a draw. Even though, like in the break, there was a mention in I think in the chats of the move h3 not actually being a novelty. In this position, there was a game between Alexander Heimann and Luke McShane in which White did play. And your c5 idea wasn't played by Luke. Luke instead played f5, rook c7, bishop b4, takes, rook a7, rook d2. And he ended up making a draw here with black. But the way he made the draw in this position with black does not inspire... Like, I would not want to be, you know... I would not want to defend this position to, like, save my life. I would feel that my life is in very significant danger here. Because compared to the ones we're discussing, the pawn on e4 compared to, let's say, the pawn on f7 and these 3 against 2s, once the pawn gets to a7, for instance, if white, like if you continue passing here, if you do nothing, and nothing, and nothing, and more nothing, you get the feeling that the king gets to e5, and then there's some kind of a zugzwang, and you might lose. And people have lost games of chess like this. This is... it's sort of more intricate than you would think, but I think these positions often become very, very dangerous because you get black in some kind of a zugzwang, you provoke g7, g5. Like we can even continue discussing this because the current position in the game is not very interesting.
Yeah.
So we go king h2, passes. Like eventually the king comes out. We can maybe come out via the different the way to come out is to go there, but I will just allow the king to come out because I want to save some time. So we get to some kind of a position like this. This provokes, I don't know, g6, g5. And then I guess white goes g2, g4. I'm not sure if this is a cleanness, but generally the solution will be we get to some kind of a position like this. And eventually rook d8, d7 just transpose into a pawn ending. Like you go, I'm currently bungling it, but the idea is if you pass here, you go rook d8, rook a6 check doesn't change anything, and eventually you are forced to accept a pawn ending like this, and then you lose that pawn ending. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you keep passive defense after we get here, you probably lose, which means that Luke was actually very justified in... He went for more or less an immediate king run towards h4 to generate counterplay, and he ended up holding, like the final position in the game is black having a rook and a pawn on g3, I think, against the queen.
Oh, right. So he built some kind of fortress.
Yeah, it basically at some point, like it went something along the lines of they got to this position and then the king started running and it got to h4. And then eventually Luke played like e3, fe, rook takes g2, and white had 2 passers. While black managed to create a passer on the king side. And eventually one of white's passers actually quinned, but it cost white the rook, and the g-pawn was far enough progressed that this ended up being a draw. But yeah, this is not very clean, which makes me wonder if h3 isn't actually a stronger move here in terms of creating issues. In the meantime, king g4, rook a3 played.
Yes.
Yeah, if you continue burning tempi here, like you can play something like h4, rook takes a2, f3, and this is actually probably still a draw. White is still not worse, despite currently being 2 pawns down, because of how stupid this king on g8 is. But you're also not winning very many of these. Like I don't know how much he wants to fool around here and pretend he's still playing for a win.
I don't think he's
probably going to call it quits pretty soon, because yeah, really you aren't really winning very, very many of these.
It is Timur Rajabov's birthday today. Did you know that? Apparently he's 35. Now he is younger than me, that's right. Yeah. Timur Rajabov, 35 years young today. Congratulations to him. He's been a bit quiet recently, perhaps staying on.
Well, there were some changes.
There were some changes.
Hmm.
Uh-oh, that sounds like politics talk to me.
No. I think there were like he made some drastic changes to his personal life. I think he is now in Moscow and
oh wow,
is potentially already married to somebody he wasn't married to before.
That's normally how it works. You have to get divorced.
That's normally the mechanic, but yeah, that's what happened. Yeah,
I see. Because talking about the 2013 candidates, of course, at that time, if I recall correctly, his wife at that time, which is now nearly 10 years ago, was the daughter of the VP of the Soka Azerbaijani oil company.
Yeah, that appears no longer to be the case. Yeah.
Well, to each his own, and we just wish.
Yeah, we are following the line that we were kind of expecting to follow. Now I think he is advised to take on f6, which he will give this check. He'll play king g5, rook h2, like rook a5, rook f2, king f6, h5, and white gives some kind of a perpetual on those squares. It's not horribly exciting, but we are waiting for all of those moves to happen.
Yeah, not the most exciting position to delve into. That's true. Jan got a haircut. Yeah, Jan is effectively, rocking the long curly hair. He's not 28 anymore. It's outrageous that he was.
He's also talking about himself in the third person, which I think the most alarming thing about the whole thing.
Is that where we've got to? Is it?
He's sitting here completely bald and talking about himself in the third person.
He's not bald,
isn't he?
Is he?
He looks bald.
Is he losing his hair?
He looks bald to me.
Oh, he's bald. Well, bloody hell! If he's bald, then what am I? I'm a potato.
That's the like. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So. Okay. Now, actually, I wanted to ask: is Timur qualified for the candidates?
Yes. Well, he is in the candidates. He qualified for the previous one. For this one, he
and he got the right because they gave him the pass. Right.
He got the spot because it was kind of carried over from the previous one. Yeah.
Right. What's your personal score against Timur? Do you have a good score against him, or?
I can check. I don't actually know. I don't think it's a particularly great score, but it's fine. I've beaten him in some World Cups. But apart from that, I think my score, like previously, my score wasn't stellar. But I've won some games against him since. I've also lost some games. Chess games will say in a New York second. So let's just ask chess games and be done with it. I'm probably like -1 or something in classical. It says 3-3 with 20 draws, and in shorter time controls, I'm in a slight plus.
Okay.
We played a bunch, apparently. I didn't realize we played so many games. It's 48 games.
Wow. Okay.
But we did play 2 matches in the World Cups. We played
48. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot of games. Yeah.
That's tons of classical.
Yeah.
Is that just classical, or
no? That's
all. That's everything. Okay.
26 classical and
okay.
22 rapid. Yeah.
Still, that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot of games.
Yeah. Was actually a higher number than I would have guessed. I would have said like 30-ish something.
Yeah. Who's the guy you've played most ever across all time?
I think at a certain point it was definitely Mickey, but now I'm not sure. Once again, I think it's searchable, right? I can actually.
Is it? How do you search that?
I have a database of my own games, and I think you can sort by number of games in it. So it's.
I'm okay. Let's do a thing with chat because the position is dead. So we'll do the thing with. Don't reveal it yet. Maybe we can. Maybe this could be a gift for chat. Whoever can guess without cheating now. Maybe we don't give them everything because these guys will cheat. And who has Peter played against most in his professional career? I'm going to go for a guess without looking at chat quickly. I'm going to say, apart from Mickey, because you said Mickey. If it's not Mickey, I have to go with the guy that sounds like Mickey. I'll go Vishy.
Yeah, and actually I wouldn't have guessed myself. And Mickey is like very, very far down now.
Oh, wow. So there's a few guys above Mickey.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people above Mickey by this point.
Okay.
At some point, we stopped really running into each other very much.
So I will go, it will be either Vishy, Vladdy, or it will be, who else could it be? Vishy, Vladdy, maybe some Russian dude. Is there any Russian dude? Pierre? No, I'll go for Vladdy or Vishy. Those are my two.
Those are 3 and 4. Number 2.
3 and 4. There's 2 guys above them.
Yeah, number 2 is Grishuk, which
Grishuk, of course.
Yeah, that would have been my first choice. But actually, I played more against Boris apparently than I played against
Boris.
Yeah.
Really?
Almost 100 games against Boris. 95 games against Boris in this database. 91 games against Sasha. 80 against Vlad, and 72 against Vishay. And yeah, Mickey is way, way below on like 48.
Wow.
But yeah, there was a period where basically every single World Cup I would play Mickey at some point, and we would play long matches because we would draw the first 2 classicals, and then we would play like a long tie-breakish type match, and they really stacked up. But then I think somewhere around like maybe mid-2000s, we started playing much rarer against each other, and I continued playing against Sasha in all kinds of events, and Boris apparently.
There you go.
In the meantime, things are happening here. I don't.
F3 on the board. Okay.
I mean, also E4. It's not just F3. It's also A4.
A4, F3 is on the board. Yeah. Okay.
And F3, and yeah, we're now actually kind of really intending to go after the F2 pawn. And if you play King G4, we go, I guess, Rook H2 and then Rook H5, and we claim that we're a pawn up. So yeah, I think at some point somewhere around here, it is maybe time to stop fooling around and find the secure draw for white, which I guess the most secure one would be to just do this and then just go back to F6.
Ah, that's okay. By the way, I was just looking at, does King G4 just easily draw as well there? I guess it does.
Instead of King
F6.
Yeah. I mean, you can obviously do this, and you're also not losing. But why would you even play a position of pawn down when King F6 just kind of forces Rook H6 check anyway here? Yeah, and this is what will happen now. We're already here. He will play King G5 because why go to any other square? And then yeah, actually King G5 you can go Rook G6, Rook G6.
No, King F4.
We go King F4. Yeah, and yeah, we're completely fine. Yeah, this will be a draw. It's just that I'm a little bit miffed that I wasn't able to tell the viewers exactly which draw it will be. Yeah, kind of a party trick that people do sometimes of just naming the exact draw that will happen on the board before it happens. But not very important, obviously. Not a hugely important thing. Does that mean that Boris played in all these Russian championships? No. We played some matches outside of the Russian championship. We played in
Oakham in 1992.
No, but yeah, he was there, but I didn't play him there because I didn't have enough points. Yeah, Boris.
Novgorod 1995.
No,
you must have.
Well, wasn't. Yeah, I played 0 Novgorods actually. I was never good enough to get invited to Novgorod. Yeah.
Dos Hermanas 1998.
Yep.
I'm just throwing random.
Maybe 99, but yeah, I definitely played him in 90.
Linares 2000.
Yeah. No, we played like a bunch of. We played in some. We played a long match in the Moscow World Cup that Ponomarev eventually won, and we played Monacos, and we played, Olympiads and Russian clubs and blah blah, and it stacks up, and apparently all adds up to 95 games somehow. Still a higher number than I would have guessed.
Amazing. Yeah. Looks like we're going to have a draw on the board. Very quickly, Senor Tiddley says, Lawrence, Judith course where? Great question. Senor Tiddley, are you a premium member? If you're not, make sure you are one. You can get 40% off use the code FIDE Grand Prix 2022. And it's a regular video series. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. You don't even need to be premium. Look at that. Merry Christmas. You can just get it. I suggest you become premium. Nonetheless, you can see there the discount code Grand Prix 2022. Judith Polgar's best games, 10 of her most relevant best games, including they're all 10 games against Peter Svidler. Actually, Peter, you do not feature in the series. I don't think she had a groundbreaking win against you. There are a couple of Vichy Anand games that are very important. The game against Shirov, and I can very quickly tell you just
how many have I played against Judith, I wonder?
Yeah, I'm curious how many you played against. I will quickly tell you.
This here only 21 games. This is lower than I would have guessed. Only 21 games.
She had a great game. She had the classic against. She had a couple of great games at the Olympiad in Istanbul.
I wasn't kidding. I lost my first 6 games to her.
There you go. You see?
Yeah, that's what I said. I really wasn't kidding.
Yeah.
I think it was 5 or 6. I lost my first 6 decisive games to her.
There you go.
And then eventually I did win some. But yeah, it started by being like an absolute slaughterhouse. Like she would just beat me for fun.
Goodness me. I never understood anybody that played an open Sicilian against her from the black side in those times.
Yeah, I kept on doing that, and I kept on getting.
It's just the most. What is this? Just play a Petrov and move on with your life, and try and.
Yeah, I was getting good positions. I remember
okay.
in some kind of a Haifa rapid in like mid-90s. I was like up in a rook and a piece. And she had like 2 remaining threats left, and I managed to blunder one of them, and it was kind of heartbreaking. But it kept on happening time and time again. Like I would get a good position, and then she would just outcalculate me, like absolutely casually, no effort.
That's right.
Very scary tactical player, like really
scary. Scary.
But also, like on the topic of her, bugbears, I don't think she had a particularly good score against Vichy. But she beat him in a Najdorf in one of the Wijk tournaments. Maybe it's in the selection.
I featured it.
Where she just won a very, very clean positional game against Vichy.
That's the one I featured.
Yeah, which I personally have never come close in my entire career. And
Vichy played a very, very, very strange move in that game. Bishop takes b3 at some point. Yeah, I suggest
you still have to beat him after that. And,
of course you do. Yeah,
I have 0 wins against him in classical, so yeah, it's not easy.
You?
Zero wins.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's actually shocking to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, we're done with today's game.
Yes.
This is the final position that we've expected at some point, and the game is finally over. Richard Rapport will be white tomorrow in the second game of the finals. If that is also a draw, we will come back on Monday with the Rapid/Blitz playoffs. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. The Road to Dubai course is out, but more importantly, Lawrence's videos on Judith's career are also out. There you have the graphic. Do consider going premium and availing yourself of those wonderful opportunities. Thanks for watching. Thanks for bearing with us talking about anything but this rook ending, but I think it's understandable, honestly. I don't think you can blame us very much. And yeah,
we're back tomorrow.
Same
time, same place. Richard Rapport with the white pieces. Is he going to seal the deal if he wins tomorrow? He's pretty much through as far as we can tell.
We think he is in. Yeah, we think he just is in for the Madrid candidates after that.
Guys, have a lovely, peaceful, serene, and a beautiful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Hi everyone, welcome to our new video series. My name is Jan Gustafsson, and I'm thrilled to be reunited with fellow Magnus Carlsen's trainers, seconds, Peter Heine Nielsen, Magnus Carlsen's head coach, and Laurent Fressinet, Magnus Carlsen's French coach, are both here, and we will be going through the World Championship match 2021. Our experiences with it, the games, what we prepared, where we felt things went well, where we felt things didn't go well. Peter, we have different perspectives because we were in different locations.
Very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about it because you were in Thailand during all the match and I was in Dubai with Magnus and his non-chess team. So I see some kind of debriefing where we will discuss what was the mood in Dubai, what was happening in the technical department in Thailand, and we got to sort of basically compare notes and get the two kind of inside looks from the match.
Very much so. And Laurent, we are actually in your private home. Thanks for having us.
It's a big pleasure to welcome both of you. And I'm sure it will be interesting to talk to you guys about the match.
Likewise.
So we hope you guys enjoy the series with our behind the scenes insights. See you then.